This is 365 Sports.
LJ Martin, pinball wizard, touchdown BYU. Every play on that drive for LJ Martin.
Our coverage of Big 12 Media Days is presented by Allen Samuels House of Travel.
Sawyer Robertson has had plenty of time to throw. They bring 5. He gets it out quickly. Cameron with a cut and a first down and more. Josh Cameron is gone for a touchdown.
Big 12 Media Day is also sponsored by Camille Johnson Realtors, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, GXG Elite, Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine, North Star Funding Partners, Don's Humidor, Baylor Alumni Fan Engagement. Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Well, we're back. Frisco, the Star, Cowboys headquarters, and what a day again. 2 fantastic days. Hope you enjoy who we have today because we have more head coaches and players and stories, and Cody Campbell, the man that has kind of shaken up a little bit of college athletics, dropped by with us, the Texas Tech Board of Regent, a man who's obviously helped put Tech in position along with others when it comes to their NIL, and then also someone that literally, and we spoke with him, wants to try to fix college athletics.
You know, and I'll admit this, I think I've admitted before, just because of like judging, like this is a Texas oil billionaire.
Yep.
Like I kind of thought like, okay, well, what's his overall end game? Is this just an end around to make Tech better? And then if he can just say like, I just want the Big 12 to be where the other 2 are, if that makes Tech better, then that'll be my compromise in this. No, the compromise is there's no compromise in this. It is he is doing this for Tech, and that's one bucket of what he's doing. And the other thing is he just really believes in the value of college athletics overall, whether it's football, softball, Olympic sports, especially Olympic sports. He's very passionate about that. That's what he believed in. And I didn't want to believe it or like couldn't like wrap my head around it at first, but talking to him, he really does. I mean, he seems very genuine about this is what I care about. This is what I think is important.
He spoke about the Olympic sports more than he did anything in college football.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, we talked to him for a good while, and he got into a lot of different things, and actually our buddy John Kurtz, shout out to him, and all the K-State faithful. He was just walking over here because he's been busy doing his own thing, and I was asking, he's like, hey, did y'all get Cody Campbell? I said, yeah, I think he's been around, and yeah, we got a good 17 minutes or whatever it was with him. And he's like, well, what were kind of the big talking points? And I was like, the main thing was, I think that kind of to Paul's point, it was just sort of sitting back and going, just seeing him explain it and his point of view up close and personal. You're like, no, I think he does actually have the best interest in college athletics. And I think that I had the same doubts, anybody, the same reservations about what this guy's motivations really were. And especially when you see all the buzzwords, oil tycoon and billionaire and everything like that. But he seemed very grounded and very genuine, and people can judge for themselves when he's on the show here a little bit later on. But I think the big takeaway was, for example, for anybody decrying about, oh, you're just doing this for the Big 12 or for Texas Tech, he'll make the point that Alabama and every other team in the SEC would make more money under his plan than they're making right now. Everybody would make more money than they're making right now under his plan, and I don't know that everybody kind of totally understands that. So that was an interesting point that he made, and
his
good
plan
stuff.
is to do an NFL style revenue sharing. Now, whether that works out or not, I don't know. But if Alabama's making even more money, then is there any change in what, for example, Iowa State's making?
I think he's basically saying that because of the way that we've done this with conferences making their own deals and doing this, that we are limiting, as a college football media populace, you're limiting your opportunities for growth.
For one massive TV deal, which would still, just like the NFL, include what could be 3, 4, 5, or 6 different networks.
So, and he said, you're stacking prime games on top of each other, which then kind of hurts overall ratings and advertising, because if CBS has Michigan and Ohio State, right, and then ABC, ESPN has Georgia and Florida on the same day or whatever it is
at the same time.
Yeah. Well, now you've actually hurt your advertising rates for either side, because I can only promise that my game can do a number that's maybe akin to it, when if you stagger the schedule a little bit, you could do a bigger number and then charge higher rates. There's all these things that would add into it.
But there's only really 4 TV spots.
Yeah,
there's 11 o'clock or so, noon, 2:30, 6, and maybe 8:30 or 9.
Yeah, but we didn't get into the minutia of all that.
But he's going to join us today.
Yeah, he's going to be with us, and you can hear for yourself sort of the general concepts that he has. But that's not something that I think we give any thought to until that's actually something to give thought to.
But it was great to have him come by.
Right? No, it was. Shout out to Cody Campbell for joining us. That was really cool. It was awesome to have him sit down with us. We were sitting here earlier in the day and looked over to our left and saw a guy walking down the stairs. I was like, is that Cody Campbell? What's he doing here? And he's here making the media. I even asked him, I was like, what's it like to be in the spotlight and getting all this attention? And he didn't seem like a guy that was really in pursuit of that. It was cool. And he was one of 1,432 people we've talked to today. So,
Well, here's the lineup. By the way, he was doing an interview. Dave Wilson, a great writer, and we've had him on from ESPN, is going to do a feature on him. Along with a few others. He dropped by maybe 3 locations, and we were one of them. Brett Yormark, Big 12 commissioner, will join us here in just a moment. A lot of these segments were recorded today and or yesterday that we still have left, and a lot that we push back to tomorrow that we can't even get to today. Scott Satterfield, Cincinnati coach in the 5 o'clock hour. Greg McElroy from ESPN, former Alabama quarterback, today at 3:30. Colorado defensive back DJ McKinney will join us here. Then Kalani Sitake, Sonny Dykes, Rich Rodriguez, who was phenomenal. And then also we'll have the Cody Campbell interview too. Rich Rod, and I did reach out to S. Michael DeHart. And Greg, I'm so glad you asked him to follow up. Rich Rod has a fantastic inspirational message for our great friend S. Michael DeHart.
Rich Rod's a PG-13 interview, though, so just make sure you let the kids out of the room.
Is he a PG-13?
He's not a PG-13,
right? He's
no, he's PG-13. Hells and damns and S words. That's PG-13.
Okay.
Oh, is that? Oh, that's where it's changed now, because that used to be like R-rated.
No. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No. Yeah. So he's PG-13.
He is
parental
funny.
Guidance suggested.
Love listening to him. And Ren Baker, his AD, we've known for a long time. At Missouri and then up North Texas. He dropped by. We didn't interview him. It's great sometimes just to talk to people. That doesn't have to be something we record, but we've had Neil Brown before, and West Virginia, thanks to Mike Montero, he was fantastic in helping us get the interview with Rich Rod today, along with many others. So there we are with that. And also, again, Brett Yormark in just a moment. Scott Frost said what? Because he didn't say it to us when we had him on yesterday.
Actually, he did talk about Nebraska because he said he didn't want to talk about Nebraska.
Yeah, but he didn't quite say it in a way that...
Not the way that you're about to say, but he did mention it because he did not want to talk about it. I don't know if that was before or after what we're about to talk about.
So here's what he said. Scott Frost, who, of course, was an absolute just abject failure in Lincoln. Let me get the right quote from here. That's the wrong one. That's about Matt Campbell.
Make sure you get the full quote.
I am.
Not the 2 sentences that made the headlines and made the viral tweets. But the follow-up to that as well, where he goes a little bit more in depth, and like everything, it looks a little bit different when you account for 100% of what he said and not 50% of what he said. But he probably still should have known better than stepping in those muddy waters anyways. And, he left a little bit covered in dirt and mud and gunk yesterday from a fan and media perspective in some circles.
Yeah, let me see if I can get the full quote, because you're right. Let's see here. I said I wouldn't leave UCF unless it was someplace you could win a national championship. I got tugged in a direction to try to help my alma mater and didn't really want to do it. It wasn't a good move. I'm lucky to get back to a place where I was a lot happier.
But that's where it stopped, though, right? Isn't that where the quote stopped?
Right,
yeah.
Right.
But what's the rest of the quote?
Well,
no, I'm happy to get.
Yeah, he goes, if I got tugged in a direction, I really didn't want to do it. It wasn't a good move. I'm lucky to get back to a place where I was a lot happier. And then did he add to the fact that don't take the wrong job?
Yeah, he said that before. But
he's getting skewered by the Nebraska media. You could tell that was the last place he wanted to go. Maybe a little bit. We asked him about when he was a player.
Look,
he is getting hammered.
And look, they can have their opinion about it and feel how they want to feel about it. But, to play devil's advocate for Scott, and he doesn't need me to do that, but just for purposes of this argument, look, you're kind of admitting that he got pulled in it. And I think the thing that bothers him most is that it is his alma mater. It is a place that he has a passion and love for, and he failed so hard there that now the relationship is fractured, and that's never going to go away for him.
I think all experience, good and bad, gives you wisdom and new perspective. The biggest thing I've learned, you can't do anything alone. Going home isn't always easy. Going back isn't always easy. This was an easy choice for me because of how much we liked it here. Speaking of UCF, it's probably the only place I'd want to be doing this in college football, which he did mention that to us.
Okay, so if you take that into account, does that not sound a little bit different than the first two sentences where it's like Nebraska sucked?
Yeah, don't take the wrong job.
But I mean, he still should walk and tread lightly when he's kind of talking about Nebraska, because clearly it's a very touchy subject. But he straight up said to us, like, I don't want to talk about them. And I actually didn't, I don't know if felt bad for him is the right phrase necessarily, but I do think it sucks that you were a massive star at your college and then you go back to help and you weren't in the best place in life, clearly. Like, he's got himself to blame before he's got anybody else to blame. And I think he'd be the first to tell you that. But I think he's also got a different perspective. Now, we'll see. He could easily flame out at UCF. I could totally see it. And we all could after talking, we could all see that. We could also see where maybe it works out. But if it doesn't work out, none of us are going to be surprised by that. But I do think, you read it in full. And here's a guy who doesn't want to go back to where he was a hero like 5 years or 10 years ago and a celebrated national champion, because now he's the coach that left in this bad situation. And so this legacy is not at all what it once was.
No.
It's still there, but it's not what it was.
For me,
and that sucks.
For me, his legacy, no matter what happened, and he was 16-31, as he was a national championship quarterback. And by the way, the last time they won it, even though they threatened for another couple of years after that.
But and had a Heisman Trophy winner that didn't win it too, right?
Crouch got killed by Miami.
Yeah, so
Eric Crouch in 01.
Yeah, so your generation will, and what's hard is that like your generation, our generation, we know that Nebraska. The people who are at Nebraska now don't know that Nebraska. It's myth to them. And
who was the one that said that? Who was it that said that they have?
One of the coaches said, like, hey, Nebraska used to be it was
Alabama.
Rich Clark.
Yes.
It was Rich Clark that was telling his kids,
yeah,
said that they were, and his kids didn't believe him. Yeah, so he walks into that, and like as many people that are, like you, Smokey, and remember that national championship, there's way more that have social media and loud and don't understand that things happened before they sprang forth onto this earth, and they're just mad about now. And that's really hard.
Yeah, and I totally understand the backlash, especially when it's reading part of part of the story, and especially that part of the story. But I do think, there was some more context there. It's still, even in full context, isn't going to come across perfectly to a lot of people. And I understand that. I'm not his PR guy, but I just, there's just so many like catchy quotes that when you look a little further, they're not quite what it was. And I think that's probably in the middle ground, but I don't think he was just like, I'm going to take a blowtorch to Nebraska. I don't think that was what it was, but that's how the reaction was he basically just double birded Nebraska, spit on the program. And that's not how it was, but it's very touchy territory. And I just think that's unfortunate because I'm sure he'll be celebrated again one day. He caused a great deal of it, of those issues. But, you hope that can be a better thing maybe in the future.
Long-time listener, back in the days when I was in radio, even in Tyler, Tracy Fisher, Scott Frost took no responsibility for what happened in Lincoln. He's a big boy. If he didn't want to go to Nebraska, he should have said no. There were many reasons and issues what happened while he was there. There's a lot of things that are a little bit dark and maybe, who knows, more speculation than truth. I'm not going to go there. But bottom line is, it was good to see him. I'll remember him as a guy that won a national title. But I'll never forget when his tenure at Nebraska may have died, even when it started. They were beating Northwestern by 11 in Dublin. And they were up 11 in the third quarter. And remember, it was like 27-16, and he tried an onside kick. Mm-hmm. And they were dominating the game on defense. Northwestern recovered at the 50, and they never – that was it.
I will tell you this after experiencing the pain of an Ireland loss last year.
We have that in common.
Next up, K-State or Iowa State fans.
Yeah, here's the thing. Know this. One of you will experience the fact that I think after that, I believe leprechauns are real. And there is an evil leprechaun that just picks a team that he doesn't like every year and says,
you're it.
Guess what? Not only are you going to lose this game, but you are screwed from here on out.
And you're going to lose in painful, excruciating ways. Yeah.
And I think that's a fair point about the lack of accountability. That's very fair. I won't argue that at all. I do think that's a clear weakness on his part that he hasn't come out and taken more responsibility for that. That's just not like how I just full on read that quote. I think I was just looking at it from a different perspective of, hey, I took the wrong job. I was trying to do it out of loyalty, and it didn't work out. And sometimes it's not better to go and chase something. And that's kind of how I took it. But if you want to take it from, I know how every Nebraska fan's taking it of, see, he's still not taking responsibility, then yeah, you can totally justifiably look at it that way. And it would piss me off too if I was a fan of Nebraska.
But I do think this. I don't think that they hire somebody like Matt Rule that's a program builder if he's even moderately more successful and just like Mike Riley level that. Like Nebraska, I think, as an organization, not a fan base, they needed it too, but as an organization, needed what this organization here, the Dallas Cowboys, need. They needed a calendar to show them that it's not 1996 anymore.
Yeah.
Like it is a long time from there.
And hasn't been for a quarter of a century.
And trying to go back to 1996 and pull him back, like try to help him go back in time, maybe help them see like, no, if we want to build back to what we were, we have to start from the beginning. Like they were trying to start from the middle, and that was not really the reality of the situation.
I still think if they beat Northwestern, they run the table and win a national title. Brett Yormark coming up in just a second. We also will have Greg McElroy from ESPN, DJ McKinney of Colorado. This in the first hour, but so much to get to. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Hit the like, but also please subscribe if you could to 365 Sports. And here's our conversation with Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark. Yormark, Big 12 Commissioner with us, 365 Sports. We were there the first year you introduced, and my God, how many things have changed since then.
A lot has changed. It's been a heck of a 3 years, though, and I appreciate all your support. Really, I do. But it's been great. We were ambitious in that first press conference. I remember sitting down. I don't even sit anymore, as you know. I kind of walk the stage now. But we were ambitious. We had some goals. We wanted to be a national conference. We wanted to get on the consciousness of current future student athletes, connect to culture, create value for our member institutions, try to get a new TV deal quickly. all of that and more has happened. I mean, I'm happy, but I'm not satisfied. There's a lot more for us to do. And I kind of look at us as a bit of a mature startup. We're just getting started. But I like where we are right now. I love the trajectory of the conference, love the profile of the conference. I do think we've extended ourselves beyond just the sports pages. So it's all good, and I've got a great group of presidents and ADs that share the same vision. They want more. They're eager for more. They want to be great. That's why I'm here.
Brett, the 5+11 thing has been, the talking point of you guys in the ACC and the other conferences when it comes to the CFP. It was a calculated risk, right, to say, like, well, we could just take 2 and admit that would be almost publicly admitting before every season starts. That, like, well, we know our place. And that doesn't seem like you to me.
No, it's not. My DNA is – so I bet on people. Mm-hmm. And I'm betting on our ADs. I'm betting on our coaches that we're going to continue to invest and we're going to continue to raise the bar when you think about our football product. Why would I ever cap our participation for the next 6 years? Why would I do that? No business person would do that. They wouldn't put a cap on their progress. So my belief is, hey, might not be perfect for us today, but I play the long game. And I'm betting on our ADs, I'm betting on our coaches and our student athletes that we're going to evolve and that every year we'll get multiple bids. And that's the goal. And I'm not going to back down.
Was there much of a discussion, like a back and forth, or did you kind of from the beginning have pretty much everybody on board as far as the athletic directors, coaches, everybody you were talking to about this? Was it a back and forth, or was it just kind of like everybody's like, yeah, man, let's go out there and go this way?
Well, I think across the board, they wanted to earn it on the field. They wanted fairness, and they wanted what the fans want. That's what this is what the fans want. Now, had they come back to us with an AQ model that was more reflective of who we are in the landscape of college football, I'm sure we would have had a conversation about that. But it's not 4-4-2-2. So that's where we are. And I'm all about fairness. I'm very transparent about it. And we'll see where we land. But the ADs and the coaches know I'm fighting for them. And that's what I'm doing.
Do you think that Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti care about the Big 12 and the ACC?
Listen, I think everyone cares about their conference.
Right.
And that's what we're paid to do. But I think as a part of that, you want to look a little broader and say, what's good for college football? And I think what's good for college football is a model that's fair, where you win it on the field and you're rewarded accordingly. And that's really how I think about it. And I do think down deep, Greg has been in this ecosystem a lot longer than I am, and he does what's right for college football. And I know Tony does too, but they also have to do what's best for their conference, and I can respect that. And by the way, we all have a great relationship, very collegial. We're working on a lot of things together. When you think about settlement and CFP and new governance. But I think there's moments in time where you can agree to disagree and still have, enormous respect for one another. And I'd say probably when it comes to this subject, that's the case.
I remember, like, when I read about the SEC coaches going like, well, why would we not want 5+11? Because you're telling me I could get 4, but heck, if we have that magical season, you could get 8. I mean, you could. And I think the thing that bothered me about 4-4-2-2 is sports are the most cyclical thing in the world. Like, they're the most unpredictable thing. You're trying to predict it before it's even happened. And that's not fair to everybody. Like, you might be even selling your own conference short at 4.
I agree. And that's, part of the rationale too. Mm-hmm. Every year is a different year. And if you think about settlement should create a level playing field, assuming everyone's living by the rules and we enforce those rules, which we will. So it does create a level playing field in a new age for collegiate athletics. It's going to change behavior. And again, I'm not going to cap, the performance of this conference.
So I remember when we first talked to you, I think we touched on the first time we talked right at the very beginning, back in 2022, when you were initially hired, you signed a contract extension through 2030. Is that correct?
I did.
Did you ever imagine when you first dipped your toes into the waters here that it would last, up to possibly 8 years and who knows beyond that? But did you always think this was going to be kind of a long-term thing, or has it kind of evolved into that?
I wasn't sure. I was a bit of an outlier, a non-traditional hire at the time.
For sure.
And those before me that had come from similar programs didn't have a lot of success, candidly. But I've always been a risk taker in my career. I took a job at NASCAR, knew nothing about auto racing. I took the CEO position of the Nets with the vision of moving a team from Jersey to Brooklyn, and everyone said, you'll never move that team to Brooklyn. And then when I came here, people said, he doesn't know college sports. He's an outlier. He won't last too long. So I always challenge myself in those situations, and I'm just happy it worked out. It was the right situation for me. I love being the commissioner of the Big 12. I love, just the ecosystem, love living in Texas. So I'm happy it's worked out. And, I'm going to be here as long as they want me.
And I guess there was some foresight because of what college sports has turned into. It's actually probably gone more up your alley than anybody could have ever bargained for at the beginning of it.
Well, I will say when I took the job, I did think that college athletics was going to a place that I'm very familiar with and probably closer to where I came from than where it's been. So I did feel that I was the right fit, regardless of the naysayers. And so far it's been pretty good.
I remember when we had you on and we started near the end, started to talk about sales and all of that. And you got, like, I remember your eyes perked up a little bit. We talked about understanding how to get the money, find the money, not be afraid to ask for the money. I remember that. I was like, okay, but now everything's about money. Everything's about finding the revenues, and you have scratched all over the place to find it. And at first there's a couple of things, well, that doesn't make sense. And the next thing you know, other conferences are looking at the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I like to say that I'm a first mover. I'm a bit of a change agent. I brought some different ideas to the table. Not every idea is going to work.
Sure.
But one of the first things I did is I brought our commercial business in-house. We had been outsourcing it for 27 years. And I just decided we need to control our own revenue at the conference. And you're seeing more and more people do that now. And that gave us the ability to do a deal like PayPal that we announced. Because had I not brought the commercial business in-house, that deal's not coming to the Big 12. So we've been setting ourselves up for this moment where we could monetize the full scale of being 16, control our own destiny when you think about the commercialization of collegiate athletics. So everything builds on the next thing. And I'm just happy some of the things that we did early on are now going to, provide us with the kind of growth that we need moving forward.
Is that something that Jerry Jones did when he bought the Cowboys? You have the NFL splits their revenue, but he then took the value of what was Texas Stadium and now AT&T Stadium and started to get his own individual, and nobody had ever, they were like, that can't be done. Pepsi, that's kind of what he did back, and everyone said that's not happening.
He's been a first mover on the commercial side. I mean, I have the utmost respect, and one of his top commercial guys is an old dear friend of mine, Chad Estes, and he's been responsible for us to be here today and some of the increased involvement with the Cowboys. But Jerry comes from that mindset. How do you leverage the IP that you're building and then ultimately drive revenue behind it? And I feel we're in a great place right now. It was the first time in the history of the conference where we went into the marketplace with 16 schools and the conference combined.
Right.
And went to a brand, a big brand, a global brand, and said, we have a business solution for you. That's pretty powerful. Because when you think about it, we're 16 strong. We're in 10 states, 4 time zones. We have 90 million people in our footprint. So the question has always been, and I posed this to our board, we got to leverage the scale of being 16. Or why did we expand? Now, long term, January of 30, we'll leverage the scale of 16 and how we've been able to build our brands in our new TV deal, because I think we'll have a big moment. But the short game is, how do we leverage that scale right now? PayPal was a great first example, and there's more to come.
Last question.
Can I talk you out of NCAA tournament expansion? I love the 68. I love the 64. I know that it's moving towards 76 or something like that. But
it might move to 76. Obviously, I defer to Charlie Baker on those decisions. But the only thing I can say, and we did meet with our coaches when we were in their spring business meetings, is when you look at the data, when you increase to 76, it means more of the Power 4 schools are going to get in. And being the best basketball conference in America and having the depth that we do, that will be very beneficial for us. Okay? And that's how I look at it, and I know our coaches look at it from the same perspective. Now, the economics need to work. No one wants dilution. So Charlie's got to work with the media partners to make sure that he can grow the pie, in an effort to financially support expansion in all the right ways. So I leave that up to him. But listen, access is good right now. We're at 16 schools. We're the deepest conference in America when it comes to football. It's why I want to go to 16. We are obviously the best basketball conference in America over the last 10 years. I said that yesterday. So more access is good for us. But the economics matter when it comes to that access, and we'll see where we land.
Cody Campbell was walking around here earlier. I just wondered how much you've actually conversed with him. I know he's got his own vision of how things go, and just your thoughts on how much noise Texas Tech has made this offseason.
Cody Campbell is a good friend. He's on our alumni council, at the conference. I speak to Cody quite a bit. His heart's in the right place. He wants what's right for college athletics. He was a student athlete. Mm-hmm. He knows the value of being a student athlete, and he wants to preserve that opportunity for those that come next. So I'm a supporter of Cody's. Again, and by the way, what he's done at Texas Tech has been unbelievable.
They've had the Big 12 in the headlines a lot. Yeah.
No, they have, and they're investing in all the right areas right now. So I look forward to spending some time with them today.
Great to see you, man. Appreciate it. Keep it up.
Appreciate
Brett Yormark, Big 12 Commissioner. Thanks to Clark Williams. This is 365 Sports. Thanks to Brett Yormark for dropping by earlier today. And perfect on cue. Greg McElroy, ESPN, former Alabama quarterback, South Lake Carroll High School.
That's it.
How you doing?
Doing good. It's good to be back home. And even though the Texas that I lived in, that's been some time since we were back in the great state here, but Frisco was not what it is now.
Oh, it was one school.
What are we doing?
And it was like Plano.
Where are we?
Yeah,
right.
And it's gorgeous.
Oh my gosh, it's awesome.
Lit up like gorgeous.
It's like I know where Louisville is. I know where the Colony is. I know where I know all along the lake, right? And there was I know where Lake Highlands is. I know where Highland Park and all those the Planos and all those up to 75 toll road through 635. But what was that spot in between? Oh, that's Frisco. Yeah, now it's awesome.
Yeah,
so it's pretty cool, man.
Keep going, and you have Prosper, which has exploded, and
Salina.
Then Salina, which used to be that tiny little 2A school that was
crazy.
Cute.
Yeah,
with 10 national or 10 state championships. As the guy who played the position, and you look at the Big 12 and the amount of quarterbacks back with experience, plus you add Wigman with what he might be able to do in Houston. What are your thoughts about this conference? And is that really one of the big storylines for them?
I don't see how you can get past one or two storylines within the league. Obviously, the competitive balance has been a hot topic, right?
Yeah.
That, and naturally, I understand that. I would lean into that too if I were Commissioner Yormark. I think he has had great messaging surrounding that, because I do believe that this is game to game probably the most entertaining conference in America, because every game matters so much, because the margins between top and bottom are so remarkably small. Once you get past that storyline, I think the quarterbacks are next. I don't know how you can get beyond it. I mean, they're deep, they're experienced. What I like most about this league is it's not like the league was when I was growing up, and it was all air raid guys that had some mobility, but it was it's a race to 50. We're going to tear you up with air raid principles, and it's going to be super fun to watch from a quarterback standpoint. But all the guys were kind of the same skill set. Now, if you kind of look across the league, everybody is different. I remember back in the day, Seneca Wallace burst on the scene for Iowa State, and I was like, this guy's insane, and then ridiculous. And then you had Vince Young, and then, of course, you had a couple guys that broke the mold. But in this league, you have pocket passers, you have power runners. For instance, Brendan Sorsby at Cincinnati, he's a 240-pound fullback. You got Devin Dampier at Utah, who's as fun to watch and as dynamic as you'll find. You have a guy like Wigman that's not necessarily known for his mobility, but he can carve you up from an accuracy standpoint if he's healthy and upright. And then you just look at some of the other guys. I mean, Jalen Daniels is unbelievable to watch. I mean, you watch Sawyer Robertson at Baylor, who's I think really a special talent. And then Sam Levitt, I think, is probably the class of the crew. But it's because of how crafty he is, and he just gives me a lot of Zach Wilson vibes at BYU. I mean, they just feel like a very similar player. And I think the sky's the limit for what he's going to do this year.
What does it say to you that, given the chaos that happens around with the quarterback position in the transfer portal, that all these guys stayed in the Big 12 and the commitment from their schools to make that happen and not maybe get bowled over by the Big 10 and SEC schools on those things?
Well, I think there's just this massive perception that there's some massive gap in resources. All right, maybe like as far as the television contracts are concerned, there's a gap, but is that going to the quarterback? Not that I know of, and if it is, I played in the wrong era. But I kind of look at I think it kind of proves that the resources in this state, Texas, for example, are ridiculous. I mean, TCU has as much money as anybody. Texas Tech has proven over the last 4 or 5 months that they can spend with anybody. Kansas just built a several $100 million facility because football matters. And albeit it wasn't always in the forefront for Kansas, it is now because Lance Leipold has given them hope. I just think the resources in this league are really, really underappreciated on a national perspective. Like, they can absolutely play with the big boys from a resource standpoint, and growing up in this area, like, we all know that. I mean, Houston has no shortage of funds. TCU has no shortage of funds. Texas Tech has no shortage of funds. T-Boone Pickens obviously has given a ton of money, passed away, but obviously he's given a ton of money and has an endowment set up for Oklahoma State. Like, everybody is flushed with cash, and if you have that, you can keep players, and if you keep players, you got a chance.
So a couple months ago, I was actually on your show with you and Cole Kublik.
Yeah.
I appreciate you having me on to talk Baylor, and we got in a little bit at the Auburn game, and that's I think a game that both fan bases are kind of don't know what to expect, but are excited about. You just mentioned Sawyer Robertson. I saw that you got to sit down and talk with him and do a little film room. Is that right?
Yeah, we did a little film room stuff.
Yeah. What was that like, and just getting to know him and what you've seen from his game?
I'm really impressed with him. Just kind of watching him from afar and covering him at state. And I know how excited that staff was about his potential and never really materializing, kind of keeping my finger on the pulse. I thought it was going to be DeQuan Finn last year, like most. You know, DeQuan Finn, of course, was a great college quarterback for a lot of years. But once he got thrust into the spot, I mean, the offense just operated so much smoother. And it just, you could tell his confidence growing week to week. And just understanding situational football, the downfield passing attack got going, the running game got going. Like, I think Baylor is probably the sleeper in the league. I just don't think anyone's talking about them. I understand that they won 6 in a row, but they're a Hail Mary away from being in the championship game, potentially. I mean, and no one seems to want to acknowledge that. And I just don't think they were that far away last year. Even in the games they lost early on, there were still moments where you're like, okay, you know, there's something that you can build on there. And once they got the right guy under center, they went on a roll. And I think that momentum can carry over year over year.
What I would say, if people want to look at the history of Sawyer, he has to get thrust in and play early on. You know, when Blake Shapen got hurt a couple years ago,
right?
He got hurt really not season ending, but as close as it can. And he played through this calf, ankle, leg injury that he had and wasn't at 100%. And then when he got his opportunities again after that, before DeQuan Finn, I don't think he ever played with 100% confidence it wasn't going to happen again.
Yeah. So
it just sometimes, and this is a quarterback, all it takes is like a couple weeks in a row of, oh, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Like, everything's fine. Like, there's no boogeyman. Everything's fine. Once that's gone from him, he's totally different.
Well, I've always compared injuries to like a bad breakup. Like, if you go through a bad breakup, you're probably going to jump back into a situation that you probably don't need to jump back into. Like, it takes time to heal mentally from those injuries. And I think that after going through a 4-year career in college, never getting hurt, and going to the NFL and getting hurt 4 times in 3 years, it's like, what the heck? I can't seem to get up my own way, and you just don't trust it anymore. And I think there is a hesitance there. So once you just start to realize, all right, hang on, I can hang in there. I can take that hit. I can get back up. I'm good. That's really beneficial. And confidence in quarterback play is just so enormous. I mean, I don't care how talented you are. If you don't believe in yourself, like, to the point in which you think you are the dang man, you can't play. So it takes, you got to be a little nuts to play quarterback because you have 11 guys trying to kill you. You have to be a little cocky to play quarterback because you have to believe that you can do anything. And you have to have a really short memory too. Whether that's injuries or the play before that you got your face knocked in the dirt, you got to get back up and you got to show your teammates that, hey, that didn't faze me. We're still good. And that's hard. And I think it's taken him a little time, but now I think he's as capable as anybody in the league to carry their team to a championship.
How much of a short memory did you have to have with Nick Saban as your head coach?
You never got to have a memory because you're always going to be reminded of your shortcomings. If he coaches the best, I mean, it was single-handedly outside of my father, the biggest influence on my life. No doubt about it. We have a great relationship still to this day. Think about the lessons he's taught me all the time. And unintentionally, like it's subconscious, like it's wired into my brain to the point where it's almost required a little bit of rewiring, frankly. Our whole philosophy at Alabama was, so what, what's next? Like, great, you won, you did your job, congratulations, on to the next game. Like to the point where he's yelling at us in the locker room after we won the national championship because we didn't play well in the second half. Like, that's the way it goes. So what's next? And the process. Like, so it's taken me a little time getting out of the program now 15 years removed to be like, hey, it's okay to find contentment here. Like, this is a really good moment. Like, oh, I just had a child. So what? What's the next one coming? Like this is a great moment. So it's taken a little rewiring, but Coach was the best. And like I said, man, just been such a huge influence on me in my life. Very grateful to have had it.
Get back on the horse, honey. This pain thing.
Yeah, no, come on. Let's go.
Let's
9
go.
more months. Let's have another one. Let's crank it out. I got to get out of diaper phase. Like, can't do this anymore.
But real quick, has he been to Ram Jam yet?
To where?
Was it Ram Jam? What's the place that's right there?
Oh, Rammer Jammer.
Rammer Jammer.
Yeah.
Rammer Jammer.
Has Coach Saban been to Rammer Jammer?
Yeah, because he hadn't been.
No, there's no way on earth he's been to Rammer Jammer.
Okay,
0% chance.
Because I heard the story that he looked out his new office. He's like, is that place good? And they're like, what do you mean? You didn't know that place was there?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, the guy that owned Rammer Jammer, Gary, is a Nick Saban lookalike.
What?
I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
If you look him up, look up Gary from Rammer Jammer. He looks exactly like Nick Saban, and it is hilarious to the point where you walk in, you're like, Coach? What's going on there?
What are you doing here?
Yeah, what's the deal? But no, I'm not surprised at all. Like, Coach Saban lives a very methodical life to where he's going to have turkey on his Cobb salad every day for lunch. That's going to be at 11:52. He's going to be done at 12:07. And it's very regimented.
I definitely just pulled him up. He looks like Rick Saban. He's like Nick's brother.
I wouldn't say they're identical twins,
Right.
but there is definitely a sneaky good resemblance there.
I know you got to go. He surprised you with what he's done as an analyst on game day, or is that exactly what you thought? He's been really. I love listening to him.
Yeah,
I know you don't, but
well, he has great perspective. I mean, who's more equipped to explain what's going on in the locker room than Nick Saban, the dynamics of the team, the XO, of course. Everybody can do the XO, but he, I think, has kind of shown the world his personality. I mean, he is a chops-busting machine, and it's just nonstop. I mean, it's relentless. So I think that's been fun, too, for the world to kind of get to know him. Like, they knew him as the guy that was throwing his headset on the sideline. That's not who he is all the time. Like, don't get me wrong, he's a robot. But there also are aspects of his personality that have come to the forefront in broadcasting that I'm glad the world's gotten to see, because it was so fun playing for him. Like, you think it's miserable. It's really not. It's so fun because you're winning. It's hard, but you're winning. But it's because of some of the personality traits you see on the set of Game Day. He kind of keeps it spirited on a regular basis.
Matt, it's great to see you. Remember covering you a couple of times at South Lake Carroll. Congratulations on what you've done. Good luck. Good to have you on again.
Thanks,
you.
guys. Go Dragons.
Greg McElroy. My favorite Saban is the commercials at Verbo.
Yeah.
When they check in early and he's like, I know. It's like he's late. Good to have you. Thank you, Greg. Greg McElroy, ESPN. Coming up, DJ McKinney, defensive back, Colorado. This is 365 Sports.
Employee Pricing Plus is back at Allen Samuels in Waco, and the deals are insane. Get a 2025 Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab. Your choice, 1.9 for 72 months, or $12,000 off and 3.9 for 72 months, or a flat-out $16,000 off MSRP. Wow! Ford, GM, or Toyota owner, take $1,500 more off only at Allen Samuels.
Come by. Let's be friends.
I'll never get used to this.
it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Make this the summer event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, where big plans start with the perfect ride at great deals. From weekend getaways to daily drives, your next new truck, SUV, or car is waiting.
Come by. Let's be friends.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
By the way, we have a super chat to get to. Is that right, Garrett? A super chat with us today as, let me see. Let me get myself up where I can see it. I can't see it on my screen.
Great coverage, safe travels at the Daily Monsoon.
Great coverage, safe travels, and thank you very much. Who was it?
Retired stockbroker.
Retired stockbroker. Thank you. Appreciate your super chat quite a bit. By the way, we didn't get McElroy for long, but these shorter interviews allow us to get to more. But a question about John Mateer. What is his ceiling? What is John Mateer's ceiling?
I mean, a ceiling of ideally, if everything works out, he's a Heisman Trophy contender. That's his ceiling. I don't think they're going to be a national championship team, but I do think they can be a team that competes near the top of the SEC if all of their investments pay off, which there's been quite a few of those as well documented, him being the biggest one. But, I think if he can be the guy that he was at Wazoo during the good times, that's a guy that could find himself in New York doing that on a level like the SEC and for a bigger program with more exposure like Oklahoma. However, I don't anticipate that that's just going to be how it goes. And towards the end of last year, he might have been somewhat checked out. He might have been somewhat figured out. I don't know, but they didn't have the best ending to the season. So I think, a ceiling Heisman Trophy contender, but I don't think that's a guarantee by any stretch.
Paul, I got to tell you, I don't remember watching him much. Maybe I watched the Oregon State game and the Texas Tech game, but after that, I don't remember. I can't recall much.
I watched after, I remember the early ones, and then after I watched those, if I was able to watch him, I would watch him for a little while because he was just fun.
So he's a must watch.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that's just fun.
Yes,
and so the reason I say that he is I agree with Craig, he's a Heisman Trophy contender, is that he is a dual threat guy who in the right system with the right playmakers is going to put up numbers. He's going to run for close to 1,000 yards as a runner. He's going to throw for 3,000 yards as a passer. He's going to make it hard to keep him out of New York as long as he's successful. Now, Oklahoma is going to have to match that record-wise, or his numbers are going to have to be ridiculous, like all-time record-setting, because that's the only way you get to New York if your team isn't good. You have to have this season where, they're 7-5, but it's not this dude's fault, and that's what he's going to have to do. But I do think he is good enough to keep them in every single game. And what they could not do last year is when they fell behind, they couldn't come back. He can do that, and I think that will be. He's just fun to watch. So he'll be in the conversation as long as Oklahoma is successful.
All right.
Yeah, I mean they got. they got a rough ending of the season there in Pullman, and there's a lot of reasons as to why. But at his best, especially early on, I mean, he's super dynamic, 3,000 plus yard passer, pretty okay touchdown to interception ratio, if not pretty good. Nearly 30 TDs, 7 interceptions. You'll take that. Nearly 1,000 yards rushing. Double-digit touchdowns rush. So, yeah, I mean, that's the kind of goofy stuff that can win you Heisman trophies, but you've got to win games as a team. And so that's going to be the big key for Oklahoma, and let the rest fall where it may.
All right, General Ursus, who's the Tennessee fan, talked about hiring alumnus never seems to end very well.
It's a risk.
It's a risk because, like the Cliff Kingsbury, Scott Frost's, like those things, they put a lot on those guys because they think because they care more, like that they can get more. Like Rich Rodriguez, West Virginia, like there's a lot of that. I would say I would stop on never. I would say there are times when it works out, and there are probably more where it doesn't because of the pressure or the nostalgia or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But I do think that a lot of it, in I said with Nebraska needed to stop pretending that going back in time was going to help them. They had to start from the jump. And I do think that when you hire an alum, a lot of time you were going back in time and you're not dealing in the present. It's almost like
you're trying to catch magic.
Yeah, you're trying to bring it back, and sometimes that works out. Sometimes it's perfect, but sometimes it doesn't because, again, the organization, the institution, the school has to have realistic understanding of where they are, not where they want to be or where they think they are, where they actually are. Like, what's reality? And, Scott Frost might have been a great coach at Nebraska if they were saying, look, we need you to rebuild this program, and told them that's what it was. I don't think they did that. I think they thought that they could bring, one of the 90s superstars back in, sprinkle, he's going to bless it with the fairy dust, and it's going to go. So.
Even if they did, he wasn't clearly in the right frame of mind or in shape to probably execute, even if they were lowered expectations. And I do think there are some examples of where it does work out really well. I think Oklahoma State's maybe not the happiest they've ever been with Mike Gundy right now, certainly. But, I mean, the 2 decades of this guy coaching his alma mater, Kirby at Georgia right now. You've got other examples over the years. So, like anything else, it's not all 100% to 0%. But, it is a big gamble that you take in having this relationship with the school that you graduate from or that you went to, and it can be the greatest thing ever. But when it goes bad, like Scott Frost in Nebraska, for however long that's going to be bad, it's bad. It's an ugly look. And Rich Rod, you mentioned, was there for a while, but I mentioned, you brought up hey, you left West Virginia back. It's like the 4th time he's come back to West Virginia. Yeah, you told us this after. I knew he was there as a head coach, but he had been there. Been there as an assistant, a couple times as a head coach. Like he's been back and forth more than once. But
I think that's the song.
Yeah.
What? Country roads take me home to the place that I belong.
Yeah. Right. But when it was working, it was awesome. And when it wasn't, it wasn't. And then that's pretty much anything. But, it's just a little bit more personal. And so when it goes bad, it just feels that much worse.
Was John Blake a former Oklahoma player?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember.
Chris Visser, Kyle Visser, was asking that question.
I think so, maybe. I don't. For some reason, I don't know that off the top of my head.
Yeah, the football player.
You know what I think is – okay, Bob. One of the reasons I think Bob Stoops.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah. Okay, one of the reasons I think Bob Stoops was so successful for Oklahoma was not only that he wasn't, but he also came from a coaching tree that had beaten Oklahoma. Like he had coached at Kansas State. He had been at some of these places or were familiar with Oklahoma. So he was not in awe of it when he got there. He was he'd already played against them, so he kind of maybe had that mindset of this is how I'm going to fix it.
Well, and he played against them from the role of we're K-State, we're going to take all the big boys down and ruin their time, and they did a lot of times.
Yeah. So
he coached under Snyder.
I mean, he coached under Snyder.
Edge,
so
look at that tree.
Yeah, so he coached under Snyder, so he had that. So that's why you bring somebody in. Look, Joe Paterno didn't go to Penn State, right? Bobby Bowden didn't go to FSU. Bear Bryant didn't go to Bama. What?
I think he did.
Did he? Okay. Yeah. But, Bear Bryant, he might have. Yeah.
You know what? I'm never wrong.
There's like 5,000 coaches you could name where they typically do not go there.
But the greatest ones typically didn't go there, and
Osborne was from Nebraska.
Yeah.
Of course. But went straight. I mean, he pretty much never left. He was under Devaney. So yeah, some of the great ones. Yeah, he went to Alabama.
Yeah. So I don't know why I thought that. I guess it's just because he was so traveled before then. But
in the 30s, by the way, that's 100 years ago. He's been gone for quite some time.
But yeah, I like it's just you want that. Like, and I think that some people are like, well, he knows how it's supposed to be here. There's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of like learning that you have to do, I think. But you also don't want somebody to try to make it how it was. You have to make it how it can be better, how it is. I think that it's hard to do. And so, you see it with we're going to hire this assistant and he's going to be here, right? He knew how it was. Well, does he have the same kind of verve that the head coach did? Sometimes not. And, there's no exact science to hiring coaches because you have to have so many factors in your corner of, there's probably a ton of guys who would have been successful, won national championships in different situations, but because they weren't aligned, with the president or the AD, it went awry. Or
Tom Herman went back to his alma mater and it looked like it might work. It never did.
Yeah. So,
and he might have railroaded himself, though.
Well, I mean, like, he's not a person who's in alignment with anybody but Tom Herman.
No.
Like he's
Brent Key's a Georgia Tech alum. There's a lot of that,
but also Brent Key knows that like he doesn't have, he doesn't have to live up to Bobby Ross. No. People have forgotten that. He just has to get them better.
Great point.
So that's the other thing. When Scott Frost goes back to Nebraska, they want him to bring the same kind of coaching success that he brought as a player. And man, like, do you guys, I know you remember how good you were, but do you understand how hard it is to be that badass? Like, it's hard.
Yeah.
And then just to it wasn't just Scott Frost that had that magic. It was all of it. And
I do think Osborne was one that it's hard to say no to him. And I wonder if Osborne himself was like, damn.
I mean, if he called you 10 years ago to do a radio show in Lincoln, even though you're like, I don't really know anything about it, would you have said, well, yeah, exactly. You're going to be like, well, here's my hero asking me to do this. So,
well, he makes enough influence on me that I still have a voicemail from him. All right, coming up next, he is the name that has not taken over college athletics, but he is a name that a lot of people are talking about. Those who know him, some that don't, may be misunderstood, but a name that is moving the needle in one way or the other. Cody Campbell. Yes, he dropped by. He's next. This is 365 Sports.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions, IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend's Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Campbell. My God, he's basically almost in some ways become part of the face of college athletics, involved in trying to fix everything. Is this a passion of yours? Are people listening to you because obviously you've made a dent?
Yeah, I mean, it's a deep passion for me because I know that personally everything that I am, everything I've become, emerged from the lessons that I learned, the character I developed, the opportunity I got through playing college sports. Same thing goes for my dad who played college football, my grandfather, all my friends and, folks that I've been around my entire life. I know what college sports does for individuals and for the country as a whole. And so I'm extremely passionate about trying to make sure that we preserve it. And I know that right now it's in great peril. I mean, it's in danger. Since the House settlement was passed, something like 40 to 50 different sports programs have been cut, non-revenue programs. Every time one of those sports is cut, a kid loses an opportunity for an education, for, advancement in their own life. And I don't want to see that happen. I also think about the communities that these schools are in and how important it is to those communities. Want to make sure that, that part of our culture remains intact, because I think it's a huge part of what America is. College sports are the ultimate, American institution, in my opinion.
Cody, I think you took a lot of people by surprise when you did that last interview before the council or whatever was going to happen there. But when you talked about what your vision was, because people see this, you see landman, oil guy, like lots of money, and they think, well, he just wants to pump money into the one thing that he likes. Mm-hmm. And that's not at all the case with you.
No.
You are very passionate about the belief. I remember reading about let's do the TV deals all together because the rising tide lifted all boats. And I think you caught a lot of people a little flat-footed there because they just assumed what your overall goal was, and it was very different than they expected.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm all about preservation of all the schools, all the sports. I think women's sports are exceptionally important in this country. I think they're at the most risk. The Olympic sports are at risk. We're the only country in the world that houses its Olympic development system in colleges. Without college sports, we don't have an Olympic development system. I mean, not to mention the fact that, and this is a crazy statistic that I read yesterday, it was a Cornell University study, 94% of women who are in C-suite roles have a college sports background. Over 60% of CEOs overall have a college sports background. So the amount of leadership development that comes through our college sports system and the impact that has on our economy, our industry, who we are as a nation is massive. And so, if I want to find a way to give back from the position that I'm in, I can't think of a better place to do it because it's a system that I understand. I understand it because I've played, but also because I've been deeply involved in the whole NIL transition and, deeply involved at Texas Tech and understand higher education and the business that it is. And ultimately, I think what people fail to understand is that this is a business problem. It's all about money. And the reality is, unfortunately, there's not enough money to pay the players and preserve all the sports. So what we have to find a creative solution to, expanding the economic pie so that we can do both, because the players do deserve to be paid. Players need to be taken care of. These guys bring a lot of value to the schools. But at the same time, the kid that's a wrestler at Iowa State also deserves the opportunity that he has. And so we need to make sure that we do both. And one way to do that is, like, as you mentioned, is to give college sports the same rights to market their media that the pro sports have, where they all pool together and they make one media deal. And so they get a lot more money. They also can optimize their scheduling. Right now, we cannibalize viewership like crazy. We stack marquee matchups on top of one another. We don't have enough time slots. Why doesn't every team play in week 0? Why doesn't every team play on Army-Navy week? It doesn't make any sense. We need to find a way to expand the economic pie and optimize our scheduling. I think that people who are threatened by my ideas assume that if we all pool together our media rights, then that means that we're going to have some kind of socialist revenue distribution. That's not what I'm advocating for at all. What I'm trying to advocate for is just, a system where the small schools have enough money to sustain themselves, understanding that there are a lot of programs that bring a lot more eyeballs and a lot more value, and they're always going to have an advantage economically, until somebody competes with them and takes that spot. But all I'm looking for is just a way to try to solve this economic formula that right now is very, very broken and is going to result in opportunity lost and communities hurt and institutions hurt if we don't do something about it.
How much of your knowledge and success of oil, natural gas in that business, which is, look, it's a lot of people making a lot of money and big decisions on a very crucial thing that the world runs on, but also you guys do have to be pulling in mostly the same direction. Otherwise there's chaos that you can maybe apply to this.
Yeah. I mean, like I said before, everything I am is because of what I learned through football, and building a successful business is all about the team, right? It's leading a team. It's having the right people on the team. It's having everybody pull the rope the same direction. And that's, I think, what we have to do to be successful in reforming college sports is that we all have to get everyone thinking about the same ideas and pushing for the same solutions, because right now there are a million different things being thrown at Congress. They don't know, they don't understand it because they don't live it. They haven't been directly involved with it. And so I think that we just have to try to unify to some extent as many voices as possible around a single set of solutions that will comprehensively and sustainably save college sports. And that's what we're trying to do. Again, all the sports, all the schools, not just a few, not just the sports that make money. We have to save all of them.
It's interesting because we hear everybody in college athletics say, oh, we need to do something, we need to act. And then something happens and they're like, well, we don't want to do it like that way, And I think of like the commission that was announced. And then all of a sudden Nick Saban's like, well, I don't know about any commission. And I just wonder, like, how much headwind and adversity have you faced in trying to, do the right thing ultimately? And the people that say they want to do the similar, do similar and do the right thing aren't necessarily wanting to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that there's a small set of bad actors who are just trying to make money off of it and line their own pockets. I'm coming at this thing working for less than free. I'm spending a lot of money to try to make it work, and have no agenda other than just to preserve the system that's done so much for so many and so much for me. And so I think that we have to be careful in thinking about people's agenda and their own personal motivations when they push for different things. And there are a lot of people out there that are taking advantage of the athletes right now. There are a lot of people who are taking advantage of the system overall. A lot of people who want to just preserve their own position wherever they are. Not to say that they don't have a perspective that should be listened to, because I think we should listen to everybody. But we have to be thoughtful about the fact that, there are some people that are in it for themselves. And, but the vast majority of people I talk to just love college sports, and they want to make sure that it stays what it's been, and it continues to serve the role that it served. And so there are a lot more of the good guys than there are the bad guys. That's what I can tell you for sure. Now, Washington, D.C. is a frustrating place. It's confusing. It's difficult. It's as bad as anybody ever says that it is. My experience is it's actually worse. It's slow. And so, we got to be patient, but I think the biggest challenge we probably have is getting enough attention on an issue that's somewhat complicated, more complicated than people realize. At the same time that there are so many other issues right now that are facing this country that are very important that also need to be addressed. And so that's a difficult thing. It's just getting the amount of time and attention necessary to comprehensively solve the problem and not just kick the can down the road.
So it seems like you're scaring the hell out of some people. And I'm not saying that's what you're wanting to do, because people they didn't know much about you. They may have known about your career, whatever. Do they misunderstand what you're trying to do? Do people like the SEC and Big Ten want all this? And here comes Cody Campbell with ideas to maybe level the playing field. And it seemed like all of a sudden they're paying attention to you, but they don't like being told what to do they?
Oh, I don't know. If the SEC is or Big Ten is threatened by me, they shouldn't be, because I'm just trying to make them more money, to be honest with you. I mean, if we modify the Sports Broadcasting Act, they're going to benefit the most of anybody. And so they shouldn't be concerned about what I'm doing. And a lot of their institutions are having to cut sports. I mean, the Big Ten schools have really big budgets, but it's because they sponsor a whole bunch of sports. Barely any of them, only one that I'm aware of, runs a budget surplus. So they have to find a place to come up with this salary cap money, and that means they're going to have to cut programs. They produce a lot of Olympic athletes, and we want them to continue producing a lot of Olympic athletes. So we have to find a way for the Big Ten to make more money. The only way, the lever that we have to pull there is optimization of scheduling and the Sports Broadcasting Act. And so, in my opinion, they should be in favor of that. Again, I think people have made the assumption that I'm looking for some kind of revenue distribution where we're going to take a bunch of money away from them and give it to other people. That's not what I'm looking for. I want to make sure that we can sustain everybody, and the Big Ten and the SEC included, make sure that they can keep their gymnastics and their swimming and all these things that they do, wrestling, all the things that they do really well that a lot of people don't even participate in.
When you sat down with Kirby and Joey and others and the donors and boosters of Texas Tech and said, hey, there's an opening for us to get involved, and it's obviously working with the news of the recruitment, what did you expect to happen? And do you get the feeling that there are some schools that are saying, wait a minute, Texas Tech's not allowed to have this kind of success?
Yeah, maybe so.
There's definitely some of that going on.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I expected that, it would be a really good meeting because those guys are smart. They're aggressive. They're forward leaning. Throughout the process of this NIL era, we've been on the forefront of, understanding what's going on and being strategic and being nimble. And so that's exactly what we did. When we set up the big strategy for the December football portal, it went like every other meeting did. We all put our heads together, thought through the strategy and came up with something that we could not only execute on, but also clearly communicate to all the people that needed to be involved, because we weren't going to do it with just one donor or just a small group of people. Like, we had an army of donors, more than a dozen people write 7-figure checks and 3,500 different individual donors that were helping. And so we raised a lot of money, and it was because it was a team effort, again, that everybody understood, everybody bought into and was willing to invest in and saw the return on investment that could be gotten. And so I'm just, ultimately it comes down to Texas Tech as a place where we have a big alumni base, but we have an extremely passionate alumni base, and people love Texas Tech that went there. And so everyone we called on when we explained what we're doing, they got it, they helped. And so I can't speak highly enough about, about that passion and about that commitment that our boosters and our alumni have to our program and elevating us, and taking advantage of the opportunity to kind of, level up through this chaotic environment that we've had.
You are a very straight shooter kind of a person. And so it would seem to me when you mentioned about Washington, D.C., which is overrun with rhetoric and not necessarily the facts of the situation when it comes to whatever you want to pick, out of the grab bag. Is that hard? Is that the hardest part, is when you talk to someone and be like, look, I know that's what you say out loud, or what people say. Here's the facts of the matter, and here's how it is. Because I think that seems to be where the wall keeps getting hit is, well, I said all this stuff into a microphone, and now I have to match that here, but this doesn't match that because the facts of it are a little bit different.
I think that college sports are slightly different because it's really not a partisan issue. I mean, really everybody kind of agrees on the ultimate goals. The biggest challenge is just getting enough attention paid to it because they have a lot going on. And again, it is more complicated than it seems, on its face. And so that's the challenge, is just getting all the information to the right people and getting them to understand the economic situation. I mean, I've had to be as blunt as to say, look, guys, let me explain this to you. There is not enough money in the system to pay the players and keep all the sports. And it's like, they're like, well, what do you mean there's not enough money to pay the players and keep all the sports? I said, there's not enough money. I mean, so that's the fundamental problem here. So we have to find a way to solve that problem. And And so just getting simple things like that through to them, and once they understand the basics, then there are very, very smart people there who can dive into the weeds and write the legislation and do the things that need to be done. We're capable of accomplishing this. It can happen, but it really is just a matter of education on very basic things and the economics of college sports and the business that it's become.
Has it been weird to be, I mean, I guess you've chosen to be sort of out front, right? But you're talked about a lot now, whereas maybe a year ago in Lubbock, people were talking about you. But is it strange in a way? You've obviously embraced it, but to suddenly be kind of a focal point of this grander conversation.
Well, it is strange, but if and I don't necessarily want the attention or want to be that guy, but if I can serve in that role and be out front and be helpful and help to get the right ideas out there, my hope is that enough people start to understand it, that I can kind of back up and let other people do it, because I have a lot of other things that I going on in my life. I run a business, I have a family, a lot of things. And so I'm hopeful that, if we can get the word out enough and get enough people on board with it, we'll be able to get there without my having to, do quite as many interviews and things like that. So.
I know you have a flight to catch, but your love of Texas Tech, you mentioned that. And to see them and what Joey's trying to produce, that means he's also got to win. I mean,
Sure.
you can do all this, but he's got to win. How has he embraced it or handled it?
I mean, I haven't read or seen what he said yesterday, but I assume he told everybody we're going to win the national championship.
Yeah, he didn't quite say that. He talked about Arizona State has a lot of people back, and Kansas State always brings. Yeah.
He's the ultimate optimist, and he's honestly so. I mean, he really believes it. We on paper we have a great roster. I mean, we're probably the most talented team on paper in the conference this year, and so we have a chance to win every game. But and we've done everything we can to control everything that we can control. But you can't control injuries. You can't control bad calls. The ball is shaped funny. It bounces weird ways. You never know what's going to happen. So I think what our goal is to be in a position to compete for a conference championship at the end of the year, compete for a spot in the playoffs. And if we're in that place and we're in those games, we'll see what happens. But that's where we want to be. And it's not just this year. It's year in, year out. We want to be in a spot where late in the season we are competitive for the conference. And that's the goal. And I think we've done everything that we can do, again, that's in our control to put ourselves in that position. Facilities, resources, coaches, we've done it all. And so, and that's what Joey wants too. And he's the type of coach that wants that pressure. He wants to have expectations. And so there's a lot of excitement. It'll be electric in Lubbock on game day this year for every game. And in fact, we've already, essentially sold out. And, so it's really exciting, the season coming up. And we'll see what happens. And football's a crazy sport.
I think people should draw blood, and that could cure depression. Talking just get a little transfusion of Joey, and you're like, man, I'm feeling good.
Let's go.
He's just, I've never met somebody he and Scott Drew are so similar in that I've never seen them have many bad days.
And it's real too. It's authentic. It's not an act. I mean, I thought at first I was like, there's no way this guy can be like this all the time, but that's just who he is. And I love him and want nothing more than for him to be successful.
Cody, good luck with all the other things you have on your plate. As you said, business, family, and all that. Thank you for your time. Thanks for dropping by. We appreciate the access.
Yeah, good talking to you guys.
Cody Campbell with us in Frisco on 365 Sports. As I started back earlier this year to try to maintain my weight, lose a little bit of that because I'd gained 8 to 10 pounds. So I just didn't feel that great. My lower back was still bothering me. Then it was the shoulder. And I don't run anymore. It's just not something I can do because of my hip. But I can walk, jog. And I've started doing that basically every morning, even occasionally on the weekend. So that's what I've been doing. Walking, jogging 3 miles, still going to the gym, and then having whatever else is available to me because of all the equipment they have. It's amazing. Inside Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco. Lost weight, felt good, maintained it. I'm down to 188 to 192. And remember, my journey started a long time ago at just over 280 pounds. And now there's a brand new equipment called Synergy 360 in the weight room. This thing is a beast, an 800-pound gorilla. You should check it out. 3 cable systems, a single arm low row, adjustable rebounder, straight pull-up bar, battle rope, and more. And any of the trainers there can help guide you and demonstrate for you. It is phenomenal. That's where you get yourself in a position to be fit, lose weight, feel better about yourself every day. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Alan Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Alan Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
Is not only a friend of the show, but like a Hall of Famer with us. Kalani Sitake, BYU football coach, with us on 365 Sports. How you doing? The life of a head coach is X's and O's and wins and losses, but it's about life and the players that grow up, make mistakes. So you've had to kind of deal with that a little bit this summer. How does that affect you personally?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm invested in these young men. So when you bring young men into your program and you get to spend time with them, and the thing that I'm really proud is that majority of our guys get the degree, and that one specifically, he has his degree. So I'm excited about that. But my main thing is to focus on helping these young men achieve their dreams, and hopefully I can help them continue the path that their parents already put them on to success. And I take it as like I'm trying to learn from them as much as I can too. So it's always difficult when you're dealing with attrition and also dealing with players in the transfer portal, things like that. But that's kind of the game, what it is now. So I love being around people, and I love being around our players.
We had Chase Roberts on earlier, and you just want to be around that guy. But I did ask him about the quarterback situation that you've had to deal with. It is, you have disciplinary things that come up. How much does the actual situation that you were in last year, where you didn't know who your quarterback was going to be until week 1, maybe help you and the staff deal with something that was totally unexpected for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we've been in this game long enough. I mean, I have the same offensive coordinator and the passing game coordinator, and a lot of the coaches that make the decision on the offensive side that have been through other quarterback battles. And so, there's a time when Zach Wilson was in the quarterback battle and Jaron Hall was in the quarterback battle. So last year it was between Gary Bohannon and Jake Retzloff, and this year, it's no different. So we're used to being in quarterback battles and competition. So I'm not really worried about it. I feel like I'd be worried if we didn't have capable players to without the depth. So the goal is to get as much depth as we can on this team at every position. And I feel really good about the guys and their abilities and the skill set that we have, especially in the quarterback room.
Do you believe in momentum coming off of a successful prior year, or is it all brand new?
I think the momentum has already started from when we got into the Big 12. I know a lot of people look at the results in the season and they judge it just purely on that. You guys have been around me long enough now to see the comfort that we have being in this conference and the situation that we're in as a department in every sport. But now with football, we're working through the system and working through the process. And part of that is being comfortable and feeling like we belong. And when you're the new guys, it's hard to do that. Now going to the third year, we're feeling a little bit more comfortable with everything. And I think that'll still come with time. But the fact that we get to be an amazing conference with amazing partners and the universities that we get to go visit and to compete against, that makes it a lot easier. And then I've been around these head coaches for so long now, and they've been so good to me, man. It's nice being friends with them. And then you get out there on the field and you compete, and it becomes, it becomes all competitiveness. And so everybody wants to win. But when you have the character that we have in these coaches, I know they're great coaches and they have amazing resumes, but man, they're really good people too. So it makes it a lot more fun. And I think we're right where we're supposed to be.
You're one of the few head coaches, though, that, because there's egos in the business, that Dion can get his brains beat in by you in a bowl game and then talk about how much he loves Kalani Sitake. Like, you literally seem to be everybody's favorite, or someone that everybody has tremendous respect for.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't know if that's I think everybody has a high level of respect for each other. That's Dion. I had a moment where I can talk to him. That I can you imagine being a young person and seeing prime time, and now he's a coach and you have access to him, and coaches like him, and the amazing coaches that we have on. I'm a football junkie, so I'm all about. I kind of nerd out around all these coaches, and even because I love football, I see the up and comers like Kenny Dillingham and all these young coaches. So it's I think for me, man, I just appreciate being here and being around such good people. And then when you meet them and they're actually truly genuine and nice, man, it's just hard for me to pass up an opportunity to just I know we got to go out there and play a game, but man, I hope that they feel that the excitement, energy that I have just from just meeting them and calling them a friend someday.
Does it's got to feel different though than obviously, there can be these rivalries and them all, that coaches do not like each other. They're never going to like each other. And, they're on the other side, but does it feel better after you win a game against a guy that you do like, as opposed to maybe one that there's animosity with?
Yeah. I honestly don't have any animosity towards anybody. Yeah. And
that's why everybody likes you.
But I honestly don't think coaches are out there to try to not like somebody, but I think we have a responsibility to protect the game. This is the game of football that we all love. And it's still at an amateur level, even though there's rev share and things like that. What makes this game so lovable is that these are still young people trying to figure it out and trying to establish a program and trying to get themselves ready for the NFL. So we have to still think amateur and not think professional, but we got to have fun along the way too. And that's my focus is on things like that. I enjoy, life's too short. I enjoy getting to meet everybody and connect with them, and then seeing how sincere they are. And I think this conference for me is a perfect connection because these head coaches are amazing. And then you meet the ADs and you're like, dude, these guys are awesome. And so when you see them in college football and being the football junkie that I am, when you meet them in person, you're like, man, this is such a huge honor. It's a blessing for me to be in this position to connect, rub elbows and connect with these people. And it just goes the same thing with the media.
So we're here in the state of Texas. You've got a variety of Texas players that have been on your roster over the years, but one's here with you, and LJ Martin, and really love watching him. I was just curious your thoughts about him entering this season, kind of your expectations. I know that word's probably overused on a day like today especially, but just kind of your thoughts about LJ Martin entering this year.
Well, I mean, I can't believe he's a veteran now. It seemed like yesterday that he was a true freshman starting and playing against Arkansas and all these teams, and honestly not feeling that the moment's too big for him. And so now that he's here, and if you know anything about LJ, really soft-spoken, and the fact that he's here being interviewed by so many people and feeling comfortable doing it, man, what a huge accomplishment for him. And so seeing him grow up and go from this really shy young man that even though he could play, when he put the helmet on, man, he's vicious. But allowing him to be a leader and to kind of feel comfortable in his skin, man, it's been really cool to see him. His freshman year, I don't know if he really said much, and now he's out there talking quite a bit, and he's actually being a leader for our program, and I'm just really proud of him and happy that he gets to be here and have this opportunity.
He's one of those guys that I knew, like, you look and he's 6'2", 225 or whatever he is, and you're like, oh, that's a big guy. And then when he walked past earlier, I was like, no, that's bigger than I thought. Like, it looks different in real life than just reading it on the paper. I would not want to jump in front of him if he's carrying the ball.
Well, I hope everybody feels that way. But I mean, he needs 10 other teammates on the field to do it right, and I think when you talk to LJ, he'll be the first to credit everybody for getting the job done.
You beat Arkansas early last year, and it seemed like no matter what you did the rest of the year, I know there was the blips on the radar, but it just seemed like that game was a huge game. They're an SEC team, and it never came up during the standings or whatever else. What is your take, Kalani, on the Big 12 and how it's looked at nationally, or do you spend time even thinking about that?
No, I mean, because I know the head coaches and I watch them. I watch the games and I cheer for them. You know what I mean? So especially when we're playing, there's a lot of pride that comes to the being. I mean, I think I told you guys before. You look at if you saw my bracket, let me just say there were 4 Big 12 teams in the Final Four, and I think that's the way it should be. It's probably going to be that way from now on because I actually get to see the games and I see these coaches and I see their teams come into the Marriott Center when we play them, and I'm super impressed with everybody throughout all of the sports that are connected to the Big 12, and so there's a sense of pride that comes with it. I just don't know what people have to say negatively about Big 12 other than that this is a tough conference. I mean, you have to be physical to be here, and there's one way to settle it. Let's just play games then. You know, like I'm not against cross. You know, let's just play against our 3. There's four Power 4 conferences. For our 3 non-conference games, let's just play 1 in each conference. I'm not afraid of that.
Would love that.
Yeah, then we can figure out how. I like the flexibility in the playoff situation, but then we can figure out. Let's settle it on the field. Let's stop trying to campaign for it. Let's just play football and figure it out from there. I think the coaches in this conference would all agree that that's the right way to do it.
I want to pitch you my idea. Whatever team, like if you match up, say you guys played, Oregon, you should play Oregon in basketball, women's basketball, softball, baseball, and like that could be a thing for the whole year. Like make it a thing for the whole year.
But we have 2 national champions in cross country.
There you go.
I mean, something that I don't understand myself. There's no way I could run that long. And if you watch the cross country events, the coaches and spectators run from one spot to the next. So I'd rather watch that on TV. But but the athletic department is moving places and they're doing great things. There's some great momentum overall, and it's because of the Big 12. I'm telling you, and our fan base has been waiting for this for a long time.
You're a football player at heart. You don't need to run more than 100 yards at a clip. That's it. That's the longest distance.
100 is asking a lot for me.
That's
even 40 is probably like, can't you guys figure it out if I can run in 10 yards? if I can do it in 10 yards, you can just assume that I can do it for 40.
Kalani Sitake with us on 365 Sports. Craig?
There's all sorts of, for every team here, there's narratives about, what to expect and this and that. But what do you expect from your own team? I mean, what excites you about this BYU football team in 2025?
Well, I'm excited to coach no matter what the situation is in the season. The fact that we're here for media days means football is right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm really excited about. But I'm not I know everybody looks at my job as to win games. That's not how I work. Winning and losing, that's a byproduct of how you respect the process that you're working through. So if we can focus on being our best. That's all I care about. Being at our best and trying to do that 12 times in a row. If we can get that done, I think we're going to like the results, and we can live with the results, whatever they may be. So I can only control what we control. We're up against some monsters in this conference. So, let's see if our best can get there. Did we play our best 12 times last year? No. But did we see some moments of it? Of course. And I think the bowl game was one of those moments, So if I could replicate that every week, then I think we'll be in a really good spot. But that's the job. That's my job as a head coach, and that's what I'm trying to focus on. And I didn't do a good enough job of that last year.
If you have children, usually all of them are different. They're all unique in a certain way. Hillstead, Borgay, and then Bear Bachmeyer, they are all different in a certain way, and those are the guys competing. How have they taken on the challenge? What have you had conversations with them?
No, I don't need to talk about it right now with them. I just let them go out there and play. But there's a sense of, when you're competing for a second string spot, that's different.
Sure.
The sense of urgency now for it to be a possible starting spot, I think that you can sense it. You can feel it. It's in the air. I love that, man. I love the energy of competition. It's like, yeah, let's get these guys out there. I can tell you the common thing between all of them is that they can throw the ball. You have to be able to throw the ball. Our offensive system will work with whatever skill set they can do the best. We'll work with it. That's why I've asked A-Rod to create a system that is you look at it, the flexibility. It can work with so many different styles, and so I'm pretty sure when we get there, we just need to figure it out soon, so that we can get some practice in it before we get to the first game. But that's the fun in all of this, man. It's like right now we're looking at a difficult situation, but it'd be more difficult if none of those guys could play football. Yeah. So the fact that they can all throw, and two of them has started in FBS level already, so that gives us something that we can lean on. But when it gets down to it, I only know one way, and that's to play the best guys. The best guys will play, and that's every week. They got to compete and win their spot, and so that I don't see the quarterback position being any different.
And look, you get Bear. He was at Stanford, so he can read. So that's good.
Yeah, when he was in, it's unfortunate that they had to change that head coaching job, but he was in the mix with QB1 when he went there in spring. So they're all capable. They're all talented players. I just, it helps that they can read too. That'd be helpful.
Did you have a favorite non-football thing you've done this offseason?
Favorite non-football thing? I would probably. I'm getting old. I'm turning 50 this year, guys.
Oh wow!
So
Paul's getting there too.
Yeah,
I'm 45
in October. You're pretty much there then, Paul.
Yeah.
The thing is, I just turned 50 by number. I felt 50 probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So no, I love being a father, and so just going through the changes, and I think for me it's like realizing how old you are when you're telling stories, and they're like, when was that? And you're like, 94, my freshman year. And they're like, 94? They're like, oh, crap. Yeah, I'm talking about, like, stuff that was done a long time ago. So yeah. I'm starting to realize that, when I talk about my time and there's no film to prove it, I told my son, I dunked the basketball when I was a freshman in high school. He's like, where's the film? I was like, I don't think it exists, but.
That's like Deion's son saying, prove that you shiloh a 40 and 4.2 or whatever, and there's no video, and he didn't.
I can confirm I've never ran a 40 4.2.
Well, Shiloh said, look, I know that Jesus walked the earth because there's people who've written about it. He's like, but he's like, I have to take you on faith, and that's 2,000 years later. I don't know.
That's right.
That's the official. That's the official sign of aging. Is when you're trying to convince your kids that you actually did something before.
Yeah. So you know what blows my mind is that, like, okay, 94, that was like the first year of Friends. So your kids will watch Friends like we used to watch Happy Days and think wow, that's old.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, You're making me feel even older now. I had to do the math real quick. Wait, am I turning 60 or 50? Which one is it? Yeah.
Last thing is that Scott Frost, who won a national title at Nebraska in '97, says none of his players were born when he won that national title.
Yeah, I asked him if his players knew about his career. He's like,
yeah.
That was '97. Well, none of them were born until like 2003 or 4 at the earliest. Yeah.
And the video looks grainy, even though it wasn't. Like, you look it up online, it looks grainy because we're so used to HD.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all of us. I don't even want to watch the old film of me. It's like, oh, please put it away. Give me HD. Yeah, so I mean, things have changed now. People are just going to take our word for it sometimes on some things. And but, I think it's a cool sign. I don't mind getting old, though. I've learned quite a bit along the way. And man, I felt like I've learned quite a bit, and just lessons I've learned. Some of them were harsh, but School of Hard Knocks have been good to me, and I'm okay with it.
One thing about the Big 12 and all the new teams is we got to meet you and get to know you, and it's been wonderful. Love it. You're part of it. Appreciate you every time you join us. We appreciate you, Kalani.
Right back at you guys. Thank you so much, and appreciate what you do for college sports.
Kalani Sitake, BYU football coach.
Listen.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Penny Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Penny Clinic Waco and reach out to the Penny Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pennycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
Youth football coach Sonny Dykes with us on 365 Sports. And since nothing's really going on in college football other than football, you seem to be somebody that would roll with the punches, but is it at times a little bit much?
Yeah. I mean, it's, the best way to put it is we're doing surgery by chainsaw. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done and fixed, and there's not an easy way to do it. So it's messy, it's messy. We're trying to overcorrect, which I think is good. I mean, we went from basically doing nothing for the players for 50, 60 years to giving them all the freedom and all the things and all the money and everything, which is where we need to get to. We just needed to get there a little bit more slowly. And so it's been messy, but, at the end of the day, I think it's in a great place. I mean, I really do. The players finally the players are being compensated. No one is going to a college football stadium to watch me coach. You know what I mean? They're going there for the players. And they're the ones that are working and risking their health and all of the things to entertain people. And so they need to be compensated. So finally we got there. They also need to have some freedom to decide if they can better themselves or create a better situation for themselves to be able to go to a different school, which I'm in favor of. The two things happened simultaneously, created some messy times, but I think we're getting where we need to get to. It's just been messy getting there, and so I think that's kind of it. But at the end of the day, I think we're in a really good place. I think college football is in a great spot. I think the players are finally, like I said, being taken care of and have some freedoms and it's just been, like I said, it's been a mess.
So when you do get a chance to get to the football, is that more of a relief than maybe it used to be?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is. I do feel like in some ways head coaches, at least I feel this way, every year we get a little further removed from the football, and you get into this profession because you love young people and you love the game of football. And there are times you feel like you get a little more isolated all the time, which drives me crazy. I like to be in the meeting room with the players and, kind of boots on the ground kind of guy. You feel like it's a little bit more difficult to do now than it used to be. But, I've got to do a good job of creating opportunities to do that with those guys. I love the relationship part of coaching. And so I got to work really hard to make sure that, I still have that with our players.
Are players any different than they were 5, 10, 15 years ago because of what they're dealing with? Is that dynamic shifted in some ways?
Yeah. You know what? What's interesting? Guys work harder now than they ever have before.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, these guys train 365 days a year if you don't tell them not to. You know what I mean? I mean, 15, 20 years ago, you used to worry about guys showing up in shape, and now they're in the best shape they're ever going to be in the very first day of fall camp. You know what I'm saying? They're already stronger than they're going to be. They're already highly conditioned. They're already very prepared. And then what you got to do is manage that, and make sure you don't do too much. But you got to create adversity. You got to, create opportunities for your team to bond. And so you got to make it hard. They got to learn how to deal with hard stuff. So there's a fine line there that you have to walk between, beating the guys down too much and making sure that when you go play our first game against North Carolina on September 1st, we have the best players available. They're fresh physically and mentally, and they're ready to perform at a high level.
Have you any idea of what to expect from North Carolina with Belichick?
I've never heard of him, by the way. Can you?
Did they hire Belichick?
Yeah. Is it Brian Billick?
Yeah.
No. I mean, to put it bluntly, I mean, I think we have an idea defensively. I mean, his son was the D coordinator last year at Washington. So in Bill's a defensive guy. So you have an idea. I mean, there's a lot of film, through the years. Freddie Kitchens is the offensive coordinator. Freddie's been an NFL guy, but they've got more of a kind of a running quarterback that's probably going to be the starter. And so how are they going to mesh those two things? We don't know. We'll look at some South Alabama film. We'll look at Freddie Kitchens film. We'll look and see what Freddie did with Baker Mayfield at Cleveland. And then we'll also look at what Bill did with Cam Newton when he was the quarterback there at New England. You know what I'm saying? Because the one thing from talking to people is, Bill does what Bill does on both sides of the ball to an extent. So, there's been a lot of prep that's already taken place, and we've looked at a lot of film trying to kind of figure out a game plan and get a game plan together defensively. But it's going to be kind of a moving target as we get more information about what's going on up there.
Is that one of those games where you just kind of, I mean, you'll know bits and pieces, but you just kind of prepare, we're going to run our system, and this is what we do.
And this is kind of what you have to do anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think sometimes, over-analysis and worrying about your opponent too much is the worst thing you can do. And so, you've got to get your team ready to play and just have those guys go out and play at a high level. And if you do that, then that should be enough. And that's really all you can do at the end of the day. The thing that is hard is there's going to be a lot of attention on this game. It's the only game on Labor Day. It's prime time. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs on this. The last time this happened for us was 23 with Deion Sanders, first game. Yep. And we did not handle that situation particularly well. And so our guys, mentally, I don't think we're in a good spot. And that's my job, is to get those guys in a good spot mentally. And so we're going to make sure that we do everything we can to get our guys to understand that, Bill's not going to score any touchdowns. You know what I mean? You got to give him the respect that he deserves as a coach, but he's not throwing any touchdown passes or making any tackles in that game. And so, we got to get our team prepared to go out and play at a high level and not get caught up in the hype, positive, negative, any of that kind of stuff, and realize that it's going to be a battle. We got into that game against Colorado, and all of a sudden it's a dogfight, and I don't think our guys mentally were prepared for that. And so we got to make sure that they're better prepared this go around.
Look, I'll throw out just, here's what I would say if I were you. You don't have to say this,
okay.
But listen, Bill Belichick's just like them. He dates the same age girls. So
there's no response for that.
I could not resist.
Radio silence.
Good God, Paul.
So
next question.
Radio silence.
So you have a great quarterback. He's getting a lot of good play early on, just preseason teams and whatnot. But I think the league as a whole, and I really respect your opinion.
Really good quarterback league. Yeah. I mean, and they're, if you look at it, tons of different skill sets with all the quarterbacks, and it makes it kind of cool. And just really, really good quarterbacks, good players, guys that can really operate their system at a high level. You know what I mean? I think that's what makes that's what's going to make this league really good. I mean, there's going to be a lot of really good offensive football teams in the league that can score points, and all that goes through the quarterback always. And so that's what's going to make this thing so competitive.
What did you see in him besides a lot with Josh and what he brings to the table?
Well, it's interesting. So when I was at SMU, we tried to recruit him, and he said he wanted to go to a Power 4 school at the time, and he ended up committing to Indiana. When we got the TCU job, he was really interested in TCU, and they didn't recruit him the first go around, and so he jumped on board pretty quickly. When we recruited him, when I went to see him, I liked his tape. And as we sat down and spent more time with him and really his family, we liked him a lot more. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the recruitment of Jared Goff, when I went to Cal. You like Jared's film, but you really like Jared the person more than you like the film. And Josh is the same way. I mean, you just get to know him, and he just makes people around him better. You know what I mean? And I think that's when you say, okay, what makes a quarterback great? There's all these things, there's size and arm strength and make the throws and all this stuff. Really what makes them great is when they bring out the best in everybody else. And Josh Hoover does that.
Well, just curious on your thoughts on what Jared has now made of himself after it worked and then it didn't in LA.
Not surprised. I mean, not surprised. It's interesting that when he went to Detroit, I was worried, you know what I mean? Cause he had been in California his whole life. He grew up in the Bay Area and but he's just such a tough kid. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's pretty amazing. If you want to ever see a lesson on toughness, you put our tape on. He's a true freshman. We're playing Ohio State. and Joey Bosa hits him 50 times in that game. I mean, it's like I've never seen a quarterback. And Jared was a little skinny 18-year-old true freshman quarterback, and he just stood in there and kept getting hit and getting hit and getting hit and never blinked and never quit and never one time did he show any kind of weakness. And I remember after that game thinking, man, this kid's really special. You know, this guy's got something unique and special to him. And that's kind of what he had to do. You know, he goes to LA, dream come true, goes to the Super Bowl, whatever. And then all of a sudden he's on the outs and he's got to go do it again at a place that he had never been. And, you know, at a program that hadn't been successful, and he rolls in there and grinds it out, man, and makes everybody around him better. And so, you know, Dan Campbell and Jared Goff, the combination of those two guys, that's two tough hombres. And those two guys just make each other better.
Thank you. Appreciate your time,
thank
Sonny.
you guys.
Tell Corey Coleman we said hi, along with a lot of others. But he's thrilled, too.
He's the best. Yeah, no, man, we're lucky we got him.
The happiest guy I've ever met. I mean, he's just always grinning.
He is, yeah, just a great guy. Love him.
Sonny Dykes, TCU football coach, with us on 365 Sports.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student-athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student-athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student-athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student-athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive in North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive in North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is 365 Sports. Check out the 365 Sports family of channels on YouTube.
Cincinnati football coach Scott Satterfield with us. Keaton Thomas, KT just wrapped up. He's a baller now.
He looks like it. They'll be coming to Cincinnati this year.
Yeah, you get to see him.
I get to see him up close and personal. Yeah.
How would you explain your off season and where you are as you're about to start working out and everything's about to get real?
Yeah, I mean, I think the off season is a time for the teams to come together. Especially this day and age, when you're bringing in so many new players and different players. We brought in 12 freshmen in January, and then roughly 20 transfer guys. I mean, so it's really a time to come together as a team and for them guys to get to know each other, quite honestly. You practice 15 days in the spring, and then now in the summer times, there's a lot more football stuff that you're doing as far as lifting and running, but you're also doing some football stuff. We just moved into a new facility 2 weeks ago, so that's been incredible. Our guys are loving that, basically living in this thing now. And, man, what a game changer that is for us. It's such a difference from where we were at in our old building compared to where we are now. And it's going to make a huge difference as we move forward.
For you, and this is, again, just outside observation, it feels like, watching the roster develop, watching the way that you have been able to go in the portal, that it seems like you and the staff are in your rhythm now, is where the first 2 years, especially given the chaos of conference realignment, everything that goes on that coaches have no control over, that they probably should have more, and all of that you guys are maybe in a groove that you haven't been able to hit because of all the things that were out of your control.
Yeah, I think that's a great perspective you have on us because, the first year you're getting in there and, man, it's chaotic. You got a new coach. People are leaving. You don't have time to recruit them. It's all the stuff. And then, by the way, you're in a new conference, the Big 12. And so, you go through that thing. And then last year I thought we made a much better effort, step forward with the players we brought in and started out 5-2, did some really good things. And then this year we did it even better, I think. We brought back our best players. We were able to continue to add and build onto our team. Recruiting was good. Last year we had over 900 snaps of true freshmen. So we played a lot of young guys, and all those guys are back again this year, signed another good class. So I really believe things have headed in the right direction. Obviously, our fans, they want wins, and we want wins too, and I think they're going to come. I think this is our best team that we've had since I've been there. I think the chemistry is outstanding. We got a bunch of good dudes in the building that love to compete. So, yeah, we're excited about the year for all that. And, we know this league's really, really good. A lot of great coaches and a lot of great players. You walk around this facility right now, you just look at a lot of them. And, and it's going to be a fun year. We open up with Nebraska. I know that's a big game to start the season out for us in Kansas City, and I think that's a big game, just to kick the year off.
Going back to the facility, what's it going to be like to have a proper indoor?
Oh, my gosh. It's incredible. We've had to go down to the Bengals facility probably 25 times over 2 years, and whenever the weather was bad, or shift your practice. No practice field. We just had the Nippert Stadium to practice in. It's just been a mess really for 2 years, and to be able to have this field and the facility to go in right to it. There's the weight room goes right into the facility, and to have that interaction right there with our guys. Our guys, I look out my window and they're out there throwing, or somebody, O-line is working on fundamental. It's just so convenient to be able to get the extra work that you need to get into, and also all the different modalities that we have for recovery, the hot tubs, the cold tubs, the steam room, the sauna, the cryo, the sleep salt tank. We got so many things. I don't even know half this stuff. I've tried it all out. It's pretty good stuff.
Yeah. You ever say like, hey, you're like Dante, hey, come back later.
Yeah, come back later. I got this right now. Yeah. Oh, it's great. It's fun.
No, it looks incredible. They did an excellent job with the design. You mentioned the leadership and some of the vets, and your AD was over here earlier, and he starts rattling off Sorsby and Royer and Corleone, and I'm going, not a lot of people are talking about Cincinnati, but dang, that's a pretty good starting core to just roll with and go to war with.
It is. We brought back a lot of good players, and then what we're able to add. I think some really good ones. Our linebackers. We got 6 linebackers that could start for us, and that a lot of people don't have that, but I feel like there's no drop off when we sub right there. We brought in a running back, Tyree Walker from Wisconsin, rushed for almost 1,000 yards last year, take Corey Connor's place. I think he's going to step right in and do a great job for us. Being able to get Joe Royer back and Dante back, these guys that were getting sought after, obviously your best player is going to get calls, and to be able to get them back, I think, is huge for us, in the offseason. And then, it's a great time right now, I think, for Cincinnati. And, I think we are hitting our stride, and, and this year, man, you're in a league this year where 9 returning starting quarterbacks, it's going to be very, very competitive. These teams that have these starting quarterbacks back already have an upper hand on other teams because of the experience that they do have. Because most of these quarterbacks have had some really good days. They've also learned a lot from the bad days. And so that experience is invaluable. And, we've got one of them. He had 19 starts, and he's learned a lot. He's played great. He had a day last year against Texas Tech. I think he threw for 440 yards, which was the best in the Big 12. He's had some bad days too. So we got to get the good days pulled out of him more often than the bad, and I think that's where we're headed for this year.
And a Texas boy, too.
Yeah,
he is.
Yeah.
He's from right down the road.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
explain the kind of person he is, Brendan, and
Yeah.
not just the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, he's a little bit of a happy-go-lucky kid. I think he's fun to be around. He likes to talk. He's confident but not arrogant, which is a good quality to have. And the way the season finished last year, he came on a vengeance this all season. The last 6 months, I mean, he's like the first one in the building. He don't ever leave. Like he'll come up, just sit in my office or the quarterback coach's office. I mean, just to be around. He wants to make sure the guys are doing what they need to do to be good. He had a bad taste in his mouth, and so like he's driven right now as a person. I think more so than anything, and he's focused. That's a deadly combination to have. That's what you want to have as your quarterback. I mean, example, man, we do these competitions all the time, and like one of the things is tug of war. You wouldn't think your quarterback be the first one to jump out there and grab the rope. He is. Like he's the first one. He's going against linebackers. He don't care, and just that's how competitive. He's got a great competitive spirit about him, but at the same time, fun to be around and, happy-go-lucky kid.
One of the other transfers you brought in was Joe Cotton from South Dakota. And one of the things I know that is chaotic, and it has to kind of sting for the FCS coaches, is that you get these guys that you found them, you developed them, and then you did too good of a job. And somebody like you comes in and gets them. But it's a great opportunity for a guy like Joe Cotton to come in. And he has played some really good football at South Dakota. They've been good. What do you see from him taking that step up? Because it is a different level of competition.
It is, and he coming in, we got him in the weight room and stuff, and like he's kind of untapped. I mean, like he's going to get a lot stronger, but he came in at 6'7", 320, and he's skinny, but he can move. He grew up playing soccer. Like he had great feet, but he's gotten a lot stronger since he's gotten on campus. I think he's got a lot of potential. Now he played at a different level, at South Dakota, and he's going to be playing in the Big 12. But he certainly has the tools and the attributes to be successful, and he's got the length. And that's what you want at left tackle. The big long arms, guys have a hard time running around him. But he's also a competitive guy as well. So yeah, we're fired up about Joe, and we hadn't put the pads on yet, so because he came in the summer, so it's going to be fun to watch him as we get to August to see what kind of player he'll be. But that was one of the pieces we need after the spring. We were like, all right, what do we need? Left tackle, and we went out and be able to get Joe, and it's a great addition for us.
He played some big moments too. That's the thing you can't.
Absolutely. Well, you think about it, Dakota schools, man, they got linemen, all those Dakota schools, and they're always one of the best teams in the country. So
no kidding. Yeah,
they're loaded.
So, this is narrative season. There's the common kind of topics like Brendan Sorsby being back is obviously a big one, and Dante and Royer. What is a narrative that's not being talked about, or something that you feel like within your program that you're excited about and maybe more people need to maybe know about?
Yeah, I mean, I think, for us bringing back the nucleus of our team, like I said, 6 linebackers that came back that had most all our tackles, being able to bring back, Dante and Sorsby and Joe Royer. I mean, Joe was a 3rd or 4th round draft grade, Senior Bowl invite, still was able to come back. And all that says is these guys like our program. They like being around there. They want to continue developing that. Obviously, if they had some sort of reservation, they're gone. They're going to another team or the NFL. But for him to come back, that was what we needed, because now we were able to go out and get some more guys to come in and help us. The narrative really probably is Cincinnati is just another team in the Big 12. I think that's probably the narrative. Nobody's probably fearful of Cincinnati at all. We won 3 games the first year and 5 last year. But I think we got a pretty good team.
Yeah,
I think we got a pretty good team this year.
I think you just went up a couple notches in my predictions.
So you played and then coached at your alma mater, Appalachian State.
That's
and
right.
So you were there when they beat Michigan.
Yep.
You were a part of that. That's an incredible tradition. So what was that like to be a part of an unbelievable run, and eventually it led you to Louisville and Cincinnati?
Yeah. I mean, I was a walk-on player. I got there in 1991. You didn't really, nobody knew your name. You just trying to make a name for yourself, and ended up earning a scholarship, and then, ended up starting my senior year. We went undefeated in 95 my senior year and won the Southern Conference, which is a great conference, by the way, back in the day. But then I was able to come back and as a head coach, ushered App State into the Sun Belt. We made that transition from FCS to Division I. You go from 63 scholarships to 85. The thing that we've always been good at App State was, we trained with a chip on our shoulder. We felt we could beat anybody that we played. And that day at Michigan, we were able to go up there. They're number 5 team in the country, and we'd already won 2 national championships, but nobody knew about us.
Sure.
And you go up to there, and that put us on the map. You beat Michigan in the big house. They were number 5. They ended up winning 9 games that year, by the way, and beat Florida in a bowl game. But they started 0-2. They lost to us in Oregon, and then they won 9 games. And then we won our 3rd national championship that year. But I just learned a lot about people. I learned a lot about during that time. It's like, believe in your people, develop your people, and they'll end up being really, really good for you. Because most of our kids back then were no stars. They were just guys. Although we did have some talented players, but they were just guys. But they had a lot of heart, and a lot of fight. And if you got that, and you got grit and toughness and fight, and you're never going to give in, you're never giving up, then you can come on top a lot.
A&M knows a little bit about them too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a few years ago. Yeah,
Okay.
Exactly right.
What is the feeling of being on the bus after that Michigan win and driving through hundreds of thousands of people who showed up because they thought this was going to be a game where they could just kind of hang out?
Yeah. It was incredible. I was up in the press box calling the plays that day, and we came down from the press box through the stands and just walking by, and most people were just sitting there like, with a blank stare on their face. They couldn't believe what just happened. Because, we won on the last play. We blocked the field goal. Yep. Corey Lynch blocked it and returned it. It was unbelievable, but very gracious people. Like the fans were really gracious. I mean, like, oh, you guys are pretty good, None of our App State fans, because we drove up there, when they drove back through Ohio, and it was around dinner time because we played at 12 noon, the fans that drove back through 5 or 6 o'clock, nobody paid for their meal. All the Ohio State fans bought every meal for the App State fans on the way back. It was every one of them. It was incredible. And we get back to campus, and we got back around midnight, and all our there's thousands, tens of thousands of people there. They had already tore our goalpost down. They're all waiting on our bus when we came in. It was incredible. I'll never forget it. What a moment.
I can't imagine, and of course I've been as a fan at a game where you never think that the team's going to lose, and then you walk out and look, I remember just being in Tallahassee as a college student, losing the game, and then you're out as a student and you're just like, why are we out tonight? Why are we out? Let's just go home, and but I never thought about it until you were just sitting here of the perspective of the guys who did it.
The guys who did it.
Driving out and going, we ruined this whole town's night.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that is something that most people won't get to.
Well, not only that night, but it's been more than that, because they're saying it's the greatest upset in college football history. So it's a black eye on Michigan forever. For that day. I mean, we had I think 59 kids travel that day. I mean, we played about 32 of them because we had to have our best players on the field the whole day, and somehow we came out on top. I mean, they had some good players: Jake Long, Mario Manningham. The quarterback is an incredible player who's still playing. Chad Henne, I think he's still playing in the league. So I mean, it was a special day and a special moment. But it just proves that anybody can beat anybody on any given day. And now we're in a league here where the parity is incredible. The worst place team in this league can beat the first place team on any given day. And so that's what you love about the Big 12 because of that. You never know who's going to win this game wherever you're playing.
We will remember this interview when you guys start having success this year because we could see it in your eyes.
Yeah, we
you
appreciate
get that little
it.
twinkle. Scott, thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Cincinnati football coach Scott Satterfield with us on 365 Sports. One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months, and it's a happy experience. It's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8-year-old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers, everybody, the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
This is 365 Sports.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
West Virginia football coach Rich Rodriguez with us. Big 12 Media Days.
What's happening, guys? What's going on? Too good. Am I like the last guy or
No.
Right in the middle?
And Michael knows we've been working on getting you, and this is a great time. No,
nice.
We've been here since yesterday, and I think we're going to end up with 12 or 13 head coaches, and we're glad we were able to add you to the list and be a part of it, which we asked for from the beginning.
Yeah, great.
Do you have to put tape on guys' helmets when you get to August, like high school football players, and what their names are?
Yeah, I'm thinking about that. I have a roster anyway. And, everybody's like sometimes the same number on offense and defense, so I have different colored jerseys. But I have a guy that stands next to me, and I'll say, Isaac, usually if they do something to piss me off, it actually helps me learn who they are. Yeah. So I'll know who I'm yelling at. Like, Isaac, what's his name? I don't want to just say a number. It's so-and-so. Hey, what are you doing, Johnny? So I tell our guys, sometimes you pissing off is not necessarily a bad thing because I get to know who you are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you got to know 72 players. The cliche coaches, you can never go home again.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I don't feel that you think that that's true.
No, I hope not. It's happened, but I feel a little bit like Forrest Gump. I've been out in the bayou in the desert and been all the way in points in between, and now I'm back home, and it's really neat. It's been a little surreal, but I've been so busy I really haven't reflected on it, and I don't know if I need to, but it's funny because it doesn't take you long to, so sometimes 6 to 9 months when you're a first-year head coach somewhere, like know the town, whatever. Mm-hmm. To me, it was like 6 to 9 minutes. They added two traffic circles in Morgantown, and I'm still trying to figure out when the hell you get off of them. I just go in circles. But
like a hamster wheel.
Yeah, but that's been really good.
That's funny you mentioned that. I was going to ask you how much, if anything, has changed in Morgantown since you're like a couple traffic stops.
Yeah, a couple traffic circles, and then the university hospital's blown up. Hired like 1,500 new doctors in the last 6 months, and they've got a great entity going, and it's right across from our stadium. So when that's built up, all the condos and the townhouses around the stadium is built up. So we've modernized it a little bit. But outside of that, West Virginia is still West Virginia, which is a good thing.
They don't burn couches anymore.
Well, they don't. I heard there's a city ordinance against it.
Yeah.
But if we win a big game this year, my ass is burning the couch. I'm just telling you. I'm going to pay the fine ahead of time or something. I don't care.
Gasoline in a match, baby. That's gasoline in a match. Or a blowtorch. Yeah, I had somebody actually reach out to me and invite me to play Greenbrier. Isn't that the beautiful course?
Yeah, that's where they had the underground bunker used to be in case we had a nuclear war. The Greenbrier had the underground, but it's not a secret now, so no longer it's not used. But it's one of the most beautiful places in the East for sure.
Yeah, he's been wanting me to get out there, and he's asked me to come out there, and I may just make a little quick hit out there. And of course, they had that flooding issue.
And they got a nice little casino down there. You can go lose some money in blackjack in a hurry too. There, if you want to do that. Yeah.
I can do that. What was it like when this opportunity came open for you and the chance for you to get back to where you really do have so much I guess, roots in the ground.
Yeah, well, believe it or not, a lot of this stuff it really does. Some people say it's just months in of work and taking place. It really was happening really quick because we were at Jack State and we're doing well. We were actually getting ready to play a conference championship game. And so I didn't do anything until after that. And then I had an interview. And then 4 days later, I had an in-person interview. And then 3 days after that, the job comes. So it happened a lot quicker. Now, they may have done some research ahead of time and what have you. And I know there's some people that called beforehand from that standpoint. But, it very rarely does it happen, right? Do you go back to a place, especially when the exit was kind of testy when I left, and now you're going back in a different dynamic. So it was good. And I could have stayed at Jack State the rest of my career and been perfectly happy. I loved it there. We were winning, a great situation. But, this came up. This is home, and this will be my last coaching stop.
I think, we had Coach Frost on yesterday, and you and he are almost in the
that's right. He got to go back too.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people who get mad about situations like that, like fans who feel hurt that you left,
sure.
Many of them probably have not been presented with that opportunity of like, oh my gosh, like this is something big in the profession that I do. You want to challenge yourself. Like, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, look, Michigan gives me a bunch of money. Like, for someone who's competitive as a coach, you see that and you go, that's something I would like to try. And it's hard to say no to those things.
Well, I'm the worst one for patience. And I was, I should have been more patient as far as some of the things I wanted to have for the program that we felt that we needed to stay where we were at because we're in a pretty good spot. And didn't think it was happening fast enough. But, you live and learn. I'm not the same coach I was back then. I better be smarter and better if I expect everybody else around our program to grow. So, but, as things are so testy and life moves on, were there times that I thought about coming back? Well, the opportunity didn't present itself very much, and I wasn't in a position. It did one about 5 or 6 years ago. And they had a different administrators, and they said I wasn't even in the top 5. Well, like, hell, I got better odds in the lottery than I didn't really worry about that. So I'm like, don't worry about it. Go find a good job. I got a good job at Jack State, won there, and then all of a sudden this happens in a hurry. So it's pretty neat.
Speaking of administration, when did you first get to meet Ren Baker? Was that during the interview process? Did you have a previous history? We're big fans, and we've interviewed him a lot of times.
Yeah,
so,
Ren's great.
Yeah.
I didn't know Ren. I had actually met him at a it used to be called the Frolic. Now it's more presidential. It's a Fiesta Summit in Arizona a couple years ago, and there's ADs there and coaches there, and we were there, and I met him for the first time. I had a good chat, but I didn't really know him. And I didn't know him until this process started. So, and like I said, it happened pretty quick. I'm sure they did their little. They had Coach Saban, I think, was on. They had him kind of searching some guys. So he called me. I've known Coach Saban for a long time. We're some of the same hometown. So he called me during the process. But it happened, like I said, it happened pretty quick. And I say I'm blessed. It doesn't happen very often that you can come full circle and you come to the opportunity where I could finish my career where I kind of got it started. You know what I mean?
And that's his alma mater. And so what were some things he asked you about? Well, I mean, you know him, Coach Saban.
Yeah, he didn't go to school there, but he's from –
He's born there. That's right.
Yeah, he's from a little town called Bononga, and I'm from Grant Town, which is in the same county, like 10 minutes away. Both little coal mining communities. And so we've all known all the same people, but they're going to involve, and they got him involved in it. He's going to kick the tires. Coach Saban doesn't do anything half-assed, he's going to do it all the right way. And so some of the questions he asked, it was like, okay, I know I'm not the only person they're calling. And I think they Zoom called. I think Ren Zoom. They told me like 20 some guys. I'm like, okay, so you're telling me there's a chance, right? But I really didn't. It's kind of, I guess, because of part of my career, I wasn't like waking up or staying up overnight worrying about it. I was in a great place. We said, we're going to do a Zoom call, and then if you're a finalist or whatever, then we'll do an in-person interview. And when they called after we won the bowl or the conference championship and wanted to do the in-person thing, I'm okay. Now this is pretty serious. And so he came down the house and we had a nice time.
Saban from Kent State, but from West Virginia. Paul,
when the historical period when you were there was Pat White, Noel Devine.
Right.
The speed that you guys had and the way that offense hummed. that is, I think, what a lot of people are excited to see come back to West Virginia, the way that just electricity happened. Do you feel you have some of that a little bit peeking up on your roster?
Yeah, a little bit, but that was a unique situation because we had some really fast guys that played really fast and played really hard, and the culture that we had was one of the things that we thought helped us win. So that's non-negotiable. We're gonna have that back. And I think the players nowadays, like back then, you tell Pat White, run through that wall, he'll run through the wall and not even ask. Now they'll still do it, but they want to know why. And if you don't give them the right answer, they'll Google and say, well, that ain't what it says here on Google. Them dudes are smarter than they've ever been.
Yeah.
So you got to explain to your players why you do it. But you still can have the type of culture where they play really, really hard, harder than they think they can. And that's what we're building now.
I have a question about Noah Devine. He went North Fort Myers High School.
Right.
I'm from Fort Myers. I went to Bishopboro High School, but that's Deion Sanders High School. Like that is a place that is usually on lock for any of the big three in Florida. How did you convince a Florida kid that was in that kind of triangle to say, you know what?
And everybody was recruiting Noel. He was a freak, but they weren't sure he was going to qualify and pass the test. And I thought he could. He had a tough upbringing, and Deion really helped him, and it was kind of a mentor a little bit. And they weren't sure he was going to pass the test. I was convinced because you sit down with the kid, and he was a sharp guy. He just had some tough luck. And so we hung with him. And so he didn't sign on signing day. And it was a month later. It was the last day he could sign on March 31st. It was the letter of intent's void, right? And so he finally says, okay, coach, I'm coming to West Virginia, because Deion was going to try to send him to a prep school in Connecticut. And I said, no, you know how cold it is in Connecticut in December? I said, I don't know if that's going to be good for you. But anyway, he finally agrees to sign with us. It's like 11 o'clock at night, the last night you could sign. Well, the letter of intent we had sent him had expired, and it was void. I was about to fire the whole staff. I was like, are you kidding me? We're going to get the top running back in the country, and we got to pay. So I said, is there a Kinko's somewhere in Fort Myers by your neighborhood? He said, there is. I said, go to Kinko's right now. He went to Kinko's. We faxed him a thing. He signed it, faxed it, 11:45 p.m., got 15 minutes to spare. 2 weeks later, he passes the test, rushed for 4,000 yards, whatever, in his career, and graduated in 3.5 years.
Isn't it his son who just ran some kind of crazy? Yeah.
He's in the 8th grade. I'll still be around probably, but little Noel, he's he's a fast guy. But and I hired him and Pat White and Rasheed Marshall on the staff, and I told him I'm not hiring just because of what they did in the 2000s. I'm hiring for what they could do for us now, because they're really good coaches and really good with our players, and they're going to help us win.
And now, all these years later, you'll be sideline across the sidelines from Deion Sanders when you guys play later this year. I mean, could you have ever? Who
would have thought? Kyle and I go way back from the Pac-12 days. Now we're going to go back and renew our deal going on there. And so there's a couple of old guards of us, me, Kyle, and Coach Gundy. Been around a little bit. Coach Fritz has been around a little bit. So, college football has changed, but this still. I mean, these are pretty good gigs that we got. You know what I mean? Yeah. These aren't bad jobs that we have, so we shouldn't complain too much.
Yeah, I think the league's got a lot of great coaches now. You're new to the league.
Right.
And so just kind of what were your outside impressions? And since we're here at Big 12 Media Days, I mean, just your thoughts on what you're facing.
Well, half the league I kind of know from Pac-12. I don't, every team is different every year, but, the Arizona schools and Utah and Colorado, we even played BYU a couple of times. So I have a little bit of idea of what the programs, where they recruit from and all that. But everything is so crazy nowadays and transactional that, you got a whole new roster every year. You got new coaches every year. If you could have something consistent that you can build your program off of, then it's going to help you. And for us, that's our environment. How we practice, we're different. How we practice, how we meet, how we go about doing our business. We're still an outlier, I think. And that's one thing that we got to be in order to have the chance for success.
How are you different?
Well, we don't have long meetings. I mean, if we're going to meet more than 40 minutes, I'm going to get them out of here.
God, I love you.
I don't bring. There's a lot of great speakers you could bring in. I'm not going to bring them in. If I'm going to spend money on a speaker, I'm going to spend money on my players. I'm going to buy them extra gear. So I don't bring a lot of speakers in. I used to be like Mr. Hard-Ass Coach, bring them in at 6:30 a.m. workouts. You know what I found out that does? That just makes you tired. 6:30. So we're not doing anything before 8 o'clock. I want our guys to be able to sleep in. So and when we practice, it's an hour and 45 minutes. But we'll do more in an hour and 45 than most teams do in 3. how we structure a thing. There's no and I tell guys, if I'm mad at you, I'm gonna yell at you, but it ain't gonna be long because we're running the next play. So everything is like nonstop motion.
So no meetings. Craig's going to love the fact that
shorter meetings.
That's right. Well, I'll work on that. Hey, Craig, 8 o'clock and not 6:30. That's good for you too.
Yeah,
I would definitely operate better a little later. So
That you probably get about 1 o'clock. You're like, damn. What time is it?
5 hours. Yeah.
You know, when we've covered the Cowboys for a long time, and I noticed from the Wade Phillips, the way he practiced to the way that Jason Garrett did it, and then Mike McCarthy, like everybody has their own thing.
Yeah.
But Wade was more of the old school, like practice moved a little bit slower. It's just how it was because Wade, I mean, he's Mum Phillips' kid. Jason Garrett took over, and then you started seeing like, oh man, like I'd never seen a football program practice move station to station like that.
Well,
and
if you're doing so much stuff scheme wise and it takes you that much time to get it taught in the classroom on the field, you're doing too much shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, simplify it because it ain't what you call, it's what you can execute. Mm-hmm. Find what you can execute, have a wrinkle or two off of it, and then do it better than anybody else.
The question about the burning couches and all that, what you are returning to Morgantown, the fan base, my God.
Yeah, let's go Mountaineers. Let's go drink some beers.
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean, it's just a passionate fan base.
Yeah, it is. It is like the that you see a lot in the South, and there's nothing else. There's no other Power 4 program. There's no professional team. So they're at. I tell everybody they cry when we win and they cry when we lose. They cry. Yeah. That's how important it is.
If you don't mind, we have a viewer, S. Michael DeHart, and he's going to have some surgery that's pretty severe on August the 1st. Would you mind just giving him some kind of a pep talk? He's got a pretty serious issue with his legs.
Well, listen, one of the things we go by is like having a hard edge, being mentally and physically tougher than anything you'd face, not just your opponent, but anything you could face. And if you can handle that, you can handle anything. Right there's your guy.
There's
Baker.
friend.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's go drink some beers.
Loosely. Coach, I love the pit rivalry that you guys have, and I heard you in your introductory press conference talking about that one. I do think it makes the fans a little excited when they don't have to explain the rivalry to the coach.
It's been a 4-letter word for me since I was in the first grade.
Exactly. You live it, and I think that makes fans like pretty excited because you don't. Sometimes guys come in like, look, they're just like any other team on our schedule, and
it's not. No, it's not. It's and it's always been that way at West Virginia, way before I got there, and the intensity of it. And it's I don't know. I saw somewhere the other day that they had listed some of the top rivalries in college sports, and W. Pitt wasn't one of them. I'm like, who are these people?
Yeah, they about that.
Yeah. So they'll see the intensity. I mean, we have 60,000 seats. There'll be 60,000. Every seat will be taken in the stand. And there'll be 10,000 in a parking lot drinking moonshine and beer that wish they were in. Yeah. That's what the pit game does for you.
So he asked you to say something, and then Ren came through. Could you finish your thought? I don't know if he could get.
Yeah. What's his name?
S. Michael DeHart.
S. Michael. I mean, I said it's. We talk about having a hard edge. I said everybody's going to have adversity. You might be facing adversity right now that might be hard, or it's hard to see that you can overcome, but you can do it. Everybody's got that mentality somewhere in them that there's nothing that can happen to them that they can't overcome. Nothing. And that's for us. We use it for our guys on and off the field. Because I said, if you think for the next 40, 50 years of your life, something's not going to happen that you're going to have adversity to, it's going to happen. And are you going to be tougher than it? That doesn't mean it's going to be all peaches and cream, whatever, but you can overcome it.
Man, we appreciate you.
Thanks,
Great
brother.
to have you back in the conference.
Appreciate it. Good
Thank
to be
you.
here. Appreciate
Rich
guys.
Rodriguez with us, West Virginia football coach in Frisco at Big 12 Media Days. Well, we enjoyed that. And thanks to Mike Montero and a lot of the media relations guys for setting us up with, 12 of the 16 coaches. Brent Brendan we had on. So we didn't get Dion. We didn't get Gundy. Not a surprise. And then Matt Campbell from Iowa State, which is a hit and miss about every 3 years or so with him. We're not done. We still have much more. A lot of interviews that we have with from tomorrow, in fact, with a lot of coaches, and we still have that. Plus John Cunningham, the AD at Cincinnati, who I thought was great too, and players that we will still bring your way, including Baylor linebacker Keaton Thomas, who's electric. Who was the coach who was sitting down? Satterfield was sitting down. KT came by, and he was like, "Who's that guy?"
Mm-hmm.
And Paul mentioned who he was. He goes, "He's built like a linebacker."
Said, what position does he play?
Yeah.
He said linebacker. He's like, he's built like a linebacker.
Yeah, he is. He's gotten bigger even from. Of course, they do during the offseason and more. And then Paul, the Sonny Dykes. Awkward pause.
He's gonna use it. I'm gonna tell you, he's gonna use that. Like, he's not gonna admit it because coaches don't do that to each other or just normally, but in that locker room, he's gonna do that.
Game day or week of?
I don't know. I'm gonna make sure we clip it and I put it out so like I get the proper credit for it.
Yeah, kind of like we the player what Dave Aranda last year.
Yeah, no, I
we
want to
pay players.
Yeah, Craig had this great question and he got the quote out, and then because we had a technical difficulty, we didn't. Yeah, we're not drilling like whose fault it was, but the thing is, we didn't get proper credit. Even though here's the deal, all they had to do without the technical difficulty was just credit Craig, because he's the one who put it out there,
and he also put it out on Twitter, didn't you?
Well, that's where everybody got it from.
Yeah,
because it wasn't on the interview.
That's where that's the only place it came from was my Twitter, and I'm totally over it, man. No, I'm over that, but that was something that super went viral, and I think Sonny Dykes probably
doesn't want it to go. I get it.
Doesn't want it to go viral, but it won't probably because it was an extreme reaction because he knew better than to.
It's funny as hell. It was funny.
React too much to that,
and I kept waiting for him to say something, but he was smart enough and mature enough to not say anything, to get lured into that, because that would become a headline somewhere. Garrett, I don't have my monitor in front of me because my YouTube channel always shuts down at about 5:20. So I don't know what it is.
That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
But Emery gets it too.
Okay, so the super chat here from Bobby B. Outstanding interview with Mr. Campbell. Great guy. Wreck-em, $4.99.
Cody Campbell, the
thank you.
Unassuming, really is kind of an unassuming. He's not that brash, driving some big old pickup truck with horns on it, and he's trying to help and God bless him for doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate him giving us some time. I had a couple people walk up afterwards and say, "Are y'all talking to Cody Campbell?" And it's weird. Nobody, this would have been a year ago, nobody would have known who he was. Yep. But then all of a sudden he's here this year, and because of all the headlines, everybody's like, "That Cody Campbell?" And so a lot of people took notice. And I know he did a couple off to the sides with a couple of writers and stuff. But
he sat down with Dave Wilson from ESPN.
Yeah. So that'll be our story that I'm sure we'll see in short order. But I mean, it was cool that he gave us not just some time, but gave us a good amount of time. And I think people who actually just sit there and listen to it, who didn't already have this preconceived notion, or maybe they did, will see I think he's legitimate, and I think he's really genuine about just wanting to save college sports, and it's not like anything nefarious.
By the way, Ross Dellinger took a picture of him when we were interviewing because Ross was right there.
Oh, cool.
I didn't
During
know
that time, as soon as it ended, I went and ran down Ross and said hello to him. But Ross was right there. He took a picture of Cody and put it out on his Twitter. So we were the newsbreaker put us out there. So
man,
yeah, no,
so I was like, no, thank you, Ross.
You know how
get
busy,
that logo out there.
Well, he cranks it out. Do you know how busy we were for 2 days?
Yeah,
that we
yeah, we all know
that we never, I believe, had a media analyst, writer, columnist, or anyone on the show, did we?
No,
Greg
McElroy.
Well, okay.
And Osweiler, but those are former quarterbacks too.
No,
so
but our buddies.
We didn't have Shahan
Dellinger,
or Max.
Max Olson, Bruce Feldman.
We had McMurphy last week. I just saw him a second
ago.
ago.
Have McMurphy.
Yeah, but
we
Brett
had him
McMurphy
recently.
was here.
Yeah.
He's out there trying to break something.
Well, I think I commend the Big 12 for that because they didn't book our guests for us, but I think the way this was set up this year, this was easily the best year, right? I mean, as far as the guests and everything.
Oh my God, yeah.
It wasn't even close. So I think, the move, everybody that I talked to the Sons of UCF guys and or Adam over at Sons of UCF, and I talked to a couple other people, and they don't have a reason to really like it here, but they preferred this, as best I could tell, to Vegas as far as a regular stop, and even over AT&T Stadium, because it's just cozier. We don't need to have like the full-blown, full stadium that's just cavernous.
And that humming noise that you get from a big...
I mean, those are fine, and I'm sure we'll be back in Vegas sooner rather than later. And there's buzz that they'll be moving it other places too, but yeah, I think this was a perfect spot for it, and it just worked well with the flow of everything. And the Big 12 and the SIDs at all the schools did great jobs of getting everybody over here.
There are some that are going to be so glad they got us a guest because they'll now have to not answer to me.
But for those that we did not get, not for a lack of attempt, like Dion or Gundy.
Yeah.
And then
we didn't need
he
Brennan.
tried to get Colorado some representation, and that just didn't work out.
Well, we had a guy, we had DJ, is it DJ Williams, the defensive back at 345, couldn't find him, but that's okay.
So it wasn't for a lack of trying there either, but yeah, hopefully
that's a nut we're going to crack at some point.
Got a little bit of everybody there as best we could.
I was told we were going to get Mark Harlan, at Utah.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we saw Ren Baker, we saw John Cunningham, maybe one or two other ADs, but there were no AD meetings during Big 12 media days, which there normally are. So
I think that probably factored into some degree.
Yeah.
You didn't have to like Yormark shuffling over and trying to get everywhere.
No, that's true. Yeah. Matt Enser and Clark Williams, appreciate them for helping set us up too.
And the SIDs could just work with the players. They weren't working with the ADs and trying to get the coaches as well. But
and they did we had 1 year they forgot to put radio and
they forgot to put a section of time, even if it was a half an hour, into the itinerary for players and coaches to stop Radio Row.
There were two kinds of SIDs at that time. The ones that were like, oh, good, that means that we don't have to do it. And the ones that are like, well, that was an oversight. We got to make sure we get these guys over here.
Joni Lehman.
But I went up and I told her, you didn't do this. And she was like, oh, my God, we forgot. Like, it was a total oversight. It wasn't intentional. It was just like a, oh, my God.
Yeah,
like,
that's why you do checklists, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing that they realized their mistake and didn't repeat that, because I think this year was I talked about – Vegas last year was 25 degrees hotter than it is here. It's actually pretty mild right now in Texas for normal
That air conditioning never did
July.
work on the Wagoneer.
Yeah.
We had a rental car in Vegas. It's 120 degrees. It was legit like the record-breaking day we got there, and we had no AC in the car.
It's a Wagoneer, one of the great cars in America.
But I think in general, Frisco, for people that know, it's everything's new and shiny, and they've got all sorts of options on everything. So it's a cool spot, and it's got everything that you need. But I think this was the most media turnout that I can recall.
Radio Row's about, I'd say, at least 12 to 15 more stations or podcasts.
Radio
here.
Row specifically, not in general, because Texas and Oklahoma would have like 50 beat writers apiece.
Yeah.
So they'd always have this big army, but like this was very well attended, and I think that's a good sign for Yormark and company. I also think it's a sign of like just podcasting and radio, like that. It's the healthiest, for sure, the healthiest Radio Row at any Big 12 media days that I've ever seen.
Even when those were a part of the company, no question. And a lot of them were here for the first time. Some of them were in Vegas, so that's good. All right, so we're not done. We have Paul's top five, and then also Andrew Valade and the college. Do we have the graphics, Garrett, on that?
So we have two polls, and he also has a fun little question to put out about the mascots. If we were to fight.
Let's go to this now. Let's do this now. And then we'll do the top five, and then we can.
Do you want to do the mascot fight?
Yeah, let's do the mascot fight. I want to know, tell me, what's the mascot fight? Read it to me.
All right, so it says, which Big 12 mascot would you pick to win in an all-out fight? Think about everybody that's here.
I'm the guy with the gun.
I'm going Cosmo.
No. The West Virginia guy could kill him with a gun. He's got a
He got a musket. It's a musket. He's got to load one at a time. He can get one.
But what if he hits him in the heart? He's done. Cosmo's kind of superhuman.
In that case, I'm going Red Raiders.
Oh, yeah. He's got two guns.
Pistol
Pete. Yeah, Pistol Pete.
Yeah.
What about the Wildcat?
Well,
which one?
Not, that versus a gun.
No, that's what guns kill. They kill.
Now I will defer to Mike Leach on one of these, though, because he did talk about this once. He said, I need to know what kind of mystical powers a Sun Devil has.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
He's got that.
Yeah, so
true.
I'm not picking any animal in this. Let me pick some of the others
the cougars
off.
and
No, because we've got three guys The Mountaineer, he can nick a cougar that's done.
Yeah, but he's got to reload slowly.
He's got to reload, so the bear's probably going to get him, right? So then you've got to rely on Pistol Pete and the Red Raider to, empty the chamber on the rest of them. But the Sun Devil, man, well, what if he's bulletproof? What if he just pops up? I don't know.
Yeah, based Mike Leach
Yeah.
for sure.
So wild card here. Does the cyclone count as the bird or the actual tornado?
No, it's a tornado.
So then I might go with tornado.
Yeah, because the tornado's Mother Nature, and when Mother Nature is pissed, it's
exactly
hell hath no fury, right?
Yeah, the Sun Devil, we're going to come to that fight. What's the point?
Yeah, he could probably just go poof with the tornado too.
Yeah.
I guess the Sun
So
Devil
we've got
wins.
nowhere, basically. It's like
Yeah.
we got to have well-defined. We need guardrails in our conversations about college football.
like college
guys.
football.
Yeah.
And, okay, now the polls.
The polls we have. Let's see, y'all. Who has the better year one in their Big 12 return? Scott Frost with 16%. Rich Rod is the winner with 44%. Neither makes a splash at 31. Both surprise people at 9, and that is out of 282 votes.
That's a good number of votes.
Okay.
I think Rich Rod, without question, will have the better year. But I can see that one that says neither one.
I was just talking to a UCF guy a little while ago, and you kind of almost expect him to be like, oh, it's great, Frost is back, but they know as well as anybody, this has as much of a high boom, high bust probability as any coaching job in the country. And these last 24 hours showed just that, of how contentious it could be if things start going badly, or weird it can get, or how exhilarating it could be. But yeah, UCF is definitely the choice there because of just Frost. You don't know what to expect. And I think Rich Rod, he's not like the straightest line walker necessarily, but I think he knows how to coach.
He's a coach.
I think you still wonder how much Frost can actually coach this team up. Like Rich Rod, you just saw it like Jacksonville State. He's done that recently. As the UCF guy said to me, he's like, they were good at UCF, and then he basically just went into the wilderness, sucked at Nebraska, and as he quoted to me, he's like, basically, got water for McVay in the NFL for like a year.
Yeah.
But we don't know
courtesy opportunity.
We don't know where he is as far as the football goes. So yeah, definitely Frost.
Rich Rod's a potty mouth.
Oh, his quote. We also need to clip that, Andrew. Is
why
like put it on socials. About the couch burning. He's like, look, that was when he said, look, it's the city ordinance is there, but if we win a big game, my ass is burning.
Yeah.
Do they beat Pitt? There's going to be fires all over there.
Where's that game though?
It's at home. It's at home.
Oh, I thought it was at Pittsburgh.
No, it's at home.
Okay,
there
that's
last
right.
year.
Yeah.
All right, poll number 2.
Poll number 2 is honest thoughts on EA Sports College Football 26, 33% living up to the hype, 28% solid but needs some tweaks, 23% meh, expected more, and 16% disappointed. That's out of 211 votes.
16 disappointed.
So I can tell you from my 5 minutes, live up to the hype. But I only had 5 minutes, so
you're in 3 plays.
I'll let you guys know on Friday because I'll have some time to.
So 33% said they're okay. Is that
they did?
Okay.
I'll have time to maybe do like a quick road to glory. I don't know.
61% the combined were okay with it, or it lived up to the hype. So pretty good positive feedback.
Yeah, lived up to the hype. 33% was the winner. So
okay,
all right. I'll tell you one thing that I liked. Running the ball can be kind of frustrating because you can have a lineman in front of you, and then for whatever reason, the computer it doesn't see the guy it's supposed to block. They have changed that to where it's adaptive better. So
hopefully they fix the passing
because the revamped passing is good too. But they have the other thing they did is every time you caught a ball and somebody hit you right away, you dropped it. Mm-hmm. Well, that doesn't always happen. It happens plenty, but some guys can catch a ball, get hit, and come up with it. The other thing was the run blocking was frustrating because you'd run through a hole and you're like, oh look, here's my lead blocker, here comes the safety, and then the guard just keeps running this way, and you're
you got veered off to the
wrong. Why would he if you want to make it realistic, he's got to see that guy. They fixed that too. So
that reminds me of the old football game that we with a guy just randomly just
like
went
electric
off.
football game.
Yeah.
I can tell
that
you
was the nuts, baby.
I lost a playoff game to Oklahoma one time, and I thought I was like, I've got a 25-yard touchdown run. It was overtime, and my guard's there, and he just like veered off, and here comes the
electric football game.
Yeah, the ABA.
Okay.
Yeah, and I lost. Yeah.
Okay.
I was very upset about that.
Oklahoma had beaten Florida State at one time.
They've apparently made the defense better too, but I was in the deep end. So
all right, Brandon Rowe, thank you very much. Faith Lynch, thank you. Also, Andrew Valade and Emery Winter. Also, Garrett Ross, thank you for running the mothership. All of our sponsors. Hey, one of our sponsors, North Star Funding Partners, Kim Coulter, was able to visit with us and kind of get an idea. So I think he's been giving feedback in the chat room on get up close and personal. He's one of the title sponsors of our coverage here at 365 Sports in Frisco.
Look, Kim Coulter's a righteous dude. I'll just tell you that right now. It's like,
you can be bought off.
Oh no, like he didn't have to do that, but like it didn't hurt.
He brought Craig Reese's candy.
Yeah.
He bought me a couple of really nice Rocky Patel cigars, and he bought you liquid.
Yes, it
liquid.
was
liquid
gold.
Yes, Amanda was here. And so thank you, everybody. We're not done. We come back. We have the top 5. We've already done the poll results. Back tomorrow with a lot of coverage from today and yesterday. We appreciate your time. This is 365 Sports.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into the Top 5. I'm Paul Catalina, and this is my Top 5. Hence the name Paul Catalina's Top 5. I like to bring newcomers along. And speaking of newcomers, we're going to talk about the Big 12 transfer newcomers as we wrap up this series with West Virginia. If you're wondering, hey, Paul, how are you in Frisco and in Waco at the same time? I'm a wizard, and I graduated from Hogwarts. That's how. Expelliarmus! Flagandanthem.com. Promo code 365 Sports. Need I say more? I can tell by looking through with my wizard vision through the screens at you. You all need a wardrobe upgrade. Flagandanthem.com. Let's go. Take me home, Country Roads Edition, West Virginia. Defensive tackle Eddie Kelly comes in from Mizzou. They need big dudes up front. And look, I'm going to take a little short time out here to tell you, West Virginia was difficult to sift through because they have 40-plus transfers on the roster right now. That's what happens when you have a new coach come in. Eddie Kelly comes in from Mizzou. He was very good there a year ago, steps into a position where he's got to be a key guy on the defense, but very important to get run stuffers right away when you're building a new program. Number 4, running back Ty Edwards. Rich Rodriguez is a master running back developer. Has always been, will always be. Ty Edwards comes in from UNI, has a ton of yards behind his stat line. Absolutely fits in really, really well in the Rich Rod offense, and Nico Marchiol will enjoy handing the ball off to him. Number 3, tight end Grayson Barnes comes in from Northern Illinois. Athletic. We talked about Kamorian Pimpton in TCU yesterday. Today, we'll talk about Grayson Barnes. He's that similar type of basketball player, long, lean, not a huge tight end, not a big run-stuffing blocker, but he is someone who can make plays, get you first downs, and especially be key in the red zone. Number 2, another running back, Jalen Knighton. It's very important to note that I put 2 running backs on here. I normally wouldn't do that, but Rich Rodriguez over the years has done running back by committee, and not because he doesn't have dogs, because he loves to run the ball. He loves the quarterback to run the ball. He loves the running backs to run the ball. He loves the wide receivers to run the ball. Heck, he might want the center to run the ball. I don't know, but he loves to run the ball. Jalen Knighton comes in from SMU, very accomplished over the years. Was never really the guy, but this is a perfect role for him. He and Edwards can step in together and split the load there in West Virginia year 1 for Rich Rod. And number 1, defensive end Jamori Robinson comes in from UTSA. One of those guys that, look, they just couldn't keep in San Antonio because the NIL is too much. Really athletic, really long, really lean, can get separation between the tackle and go get after the quarterback. Again, very important in year 1 to have your run stuffers and pass rushers to close the gap on improving. West Virginia is one of the total wild cards of this league, but they've done some really interesting things in the portal, and I expect to see a little bit of fireworks in Morgantown this year. That's going to do it for this top 5. That's going to do it for Big 12 Media Days. As soon as Smokey gives you the polls, we are back in studio tomorrow.